Hi there, my name is Aaron, and welcome to the Call to Cinema. Tonight, we have a very special guest, actually, two guests tonight. One is here right now, and it is IndiePhantom.
We have a very special guest, actually, two guests
I
tonight.
think
One is here
I've got
right now, and
my
it is
my
IndiePhantom.
screen
We
showing
have
up twice.
a very special guest, actually, two guests
I
tonight.
think
One is here
I've got
right now, and
my
it is
my,
IndiePhantom.
and that, my friends, is how you do something stereo. Robert and William. It's never a dull moment. We're gonna bring Indy in right now. I live in Morocco, and I go back to Canada to visit my family and to do shopping. He lives now in China. Well, he's not in China right now. He's actually in Canada right now, and he goes there. Hey there, Sarah, to do his shopping. So let's bring him in right now. Let's give a big warm welcome to Indie Phantom there. How's it going?
Hey, Aaron, good to see you. Good to see you. I wonder how many people actually in the chat might remember the few times like 2016, 2017 that I actually made videos. So if there's anyone that remembers the time when Indy actually made videos, tell them to chime in because it's been a while, and it's been a while since I've seen you. I know we were on a stream a long time ago with like Zarin Izarak and a couple other guys, and it was a fun time.
Yeah.
So
Oh my God, that was a ways back.
it was a ways back. It was probably 6 or 7 years.
Because he did some damn good. He still does some really good videos, and we're both Doctor Who fans. That's actually how I found his
And I'm
channel.
not. I'm pretty ignorant. I'm not against Doctor Who, but I've only seen. I actually watched some of not the first season, but one of the newer catchy seasons when I was in China because a couple of friends there liked it. So I have seen a bit of the newer stuff, but not any of the classic.
The classics what got me. Well, I was a kid, right? So it's what you see when you're young, I think.
Yeah.
Hey there, George. Hey there, everybody. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to do with a little bit of collector's corner. We're going to talk about. You're going to show off some pretty cool stuff that you got, and basically talk about what it's like to be a collector and be in an area where you can't collect. So you're like me in that you spend a severe amount of time in another country. So kind of break that down for us.
Yeah, well, now it's been, like I say, almost 7 years now that I've spent most of the time in China. And because of certain things that happened in the world in recent years, I was there for 4 consecutive years. Normally, I'd come back for a couple of months, 2 to 3 months, sometimes a year. But I actually, just a month ago, got back for the first time in 4 years from China because of the lockdown situation. So I was missing my collection big time because there's not really a physical media scene there in China, like not since maybe the DVD burn days. Like I've never actually seen a Blu-ray there. It's all files, it's all streaming, it's all that kind of stuff. So, and this is in mainland China. So yeah, that's that's one of the biggest problems being an international collector like we are. So coming back and having all these orders waiting for me for 4 years, stuff from Severin, Vinegar Syndrome, stuff from all the videos that Aaron, put this material out there. And I'm like, I got to buy that, but I'm not going to see that maybe for a couple more years. So yeah.
It is like, it's insane. I'm like, it's the same here. The first time I came to Morocco, I would see like burn parted stuff all over the place, right? And you'd still get some physical media. We had like Virgin Mobile superstores, and we had a couple like different areas that had like some physical media. Actually found a good copy of Eden Lake here, probably the best one. But most of the stuff was burned. Was like just burned stuff, and I remember getting it like for 50 cents, like just to watch type of thing, because they were horrible quality. They were, and some you like kind of like guess if it was going to be in English or not, so you weren't quite sure. But now there's not even any of that. So it's the same here. I'm not sure if it's big over in China, but here in Morocco we have IPTV, which is like huge, and that would be like illegal, like in North America for sure. It's Internet Protocol television, and I'm sure anybody that's ever had like a Android box or something like that knows exactly what I'm talking about. Except here, like if you go to your store, like your Moroccan like Radio Shack type of store, where they got TVs now, all the TVs got this big little thing, works with IPTV, and it's pretty much you pay like $30 and you get like channels from different countries and like movies and all that as well. So and it's the way you see a lot of stuff here. We got like a local theater nearby, but not always in English.
Yeah, well, the China scene is the good news is most of the theaters, and there's a lot of theaters, like quality theaters, and any of the North American stuff will usually be in English. In fact, I've never run into a situation where it wasn't. You know, it's they subtitle in Chinese, so you know the limitation of it is you're just getting very mainstream stuff most of the time. They won't get the horror stuff. I think this past year, Megan had shown there. That was unusual. I couldn't find it in a theater right near me, but The Predator, that last Shane Black one, that was the last thing close to horror that I remember seeing theatrically in China, and it was censored to hell because of the language in that one. So, and censorship isn't a big issue usually in the mainstream stuff, but they don't really watch, they don't do genre stuff, they don't do horror theatrically.
I haven't seen a lot of horror stuff here, and the one horror that we got was Scream 6, and that wasn't in English at all, unfortunately. Hey there, Malcolm. Welcome, man. um, I I have to say it's different, isn't it? Like you get because you're so used to being able to go to your local shop and go to your Walmart, go to your HMV if you live in like in the UK or Sunrise or Suncoast or Bay Street Video, or
Bay
somewhere
Street.
around that. I love Bay Street Video, man. I spent way too much money on Bay Street Video last time I was there. Uh, but and then you come to like a different area, and you realize like there's so much that you can't get. Now, do you take much with you, or do you just mostly stream? Or
Right. I pretty much took nothing with me the last few times because it was I have a couple of friends there that work with me that have a small amount of Blu-ray stuff there, and one guy's even got like a PS5 set up. But no, I use my computer, and I just have to use VPN and stuff to stream. So while I'm there, I don't worry about it. It's kind of a different setup there. I've got a projector, and I enjoy it for what it is. But yeah, I kind of just because of the amount of stuff I have to take back and forth with me anyway is a hassle. So I didn't want to worry about my physical media for now, even though I'm there like 10 months a year, So right now it's just like physical overload, right?
so I'd have to have like at least a box set or two, something.
Hmm.
Malcolm, he's actually in China, but yeah, there are HMVs in Japan. And I want. Have you ever been to Japan, by the way? Which is a
I
totally
have
different.
not. No, lots of my friends here have been there, and then there's a lot of people into it, but I haven't. I haven't gone outside of China in any other Asian countries yet.
George is getting his PS5 soon. I am so jealous, George. I very much am. Malcolm keeps like ragging on me about getting the PlayStation 5.
I just
Eventually
saw
got
one here in Shoppers Drug Mart. Like you can buy it now in Shoppers Drug Mart here.
when I was in Canada, they were it was like looking for gold. It literally you couldn't find them anywhere. So I go to different stores, I go to shops. I remember seeing one once at a Best Buy. And that was the most fantastic like discovery that I found. And I left to tell my better half, and I was going to suck up to see if I could get the PlayStation 5 because it was what the one with the disc drive. That's what you want.
Yes.
But by the time I got back to there, it was gone. It was sold. And like I know you can find them around nowadays, but when we came to Morocco initially, like we were seeing PlayStation 5s everywhere, and it was like it was blowing my mind. We go to like the grocery store, and we would see it, and I'd be like, "Where was this when I was getting ready to move?"
Yeah, I mean, I totally had planned on initially. I'm still rocking the PS3. Like I haven't upgraded since that. And I'm not much of a gamer. I know you're probably a bit more of a gamer. And it's like I get into it. I've got a small collection of PS3 games and stuff. And I was so ready to like, because I missed the PS4, I've kind of always skipped. I had the one, I had the three, and I was ready to jump on the five. And then it just was so hard to do. And there was a lot of confusing stuff out there when it first launched. But I know one of my coworkers in China, he got his from Japan, and I believe he's got the full deal, like the disk drive and stuff, and it was like a big deal at the time because he got it like a year ago when it was still difficult to get in Canada. So
And
it's
now they're
kind of
putting it in one, like an 8K one, which
yeah. I listened to your podcast earlier, and you got into that, and I thought that's like,
Thank you,
wow,
Will.
yeah, no, great show, by the way. I love listening to these. I know it's not. I don't think you always do it solo, but most of the time you do, and I kind of have a thing for those kind of solo effort podcasts too. It's just kind of nice to get the one voice sometimes, and it's a relaxing show, and you got a great voice for it too. I really
Like
really
it's like
enjoy it, the
super
content.
hard sometimes. Like I got my better half in for my first one
Hmm.
because to this day, like I still get like nervous. And Ready's still at work. We will be here, man. We'll be here waiting for you. So and Ready's waiting to is still they've got him working hard. Hopefully we're
Looking
gonna get there.
forward to it. And Ready, I was also a big fan of Ed Ready for years, and we used to chat back and forth a bit. When I was doing reviews, he was always one of the positive guys toward the full review. So,
And
and we
Nready
were
did a lot
thrift
of
store
stuff
guys.
too. I remember watching Nready's like doing like going it around like because
Yeah,
I'm a sucker for like out and about videos. Which I don't normally do myself, but I love them, and I both love them and hate them because I love them when I see people like when it's like Amready and stuff doing those videos, and they're focusing on like a lot of the stuff that I'm kind of into. However, there's a lot certain people that will go in and I'll see them like go by things that I'm like pick that up. You got to pick that up. That's an important pickup, and they won't pick it up, and they're like, I could get this right now, but this Disney princess is here, and it's pretty, like, okay, to each their own, but
I
it's
think I know at least one of the channels you're talking about, and
I bet you do. Exactly. No
I
shade,
have
it's
the
just because I
same
still
issue.
watch them.
Yeah,
Yeah, I want to watch that unboxing, like George. I watch George unboxing on Facebook, and he got the Casa Nostra
mm,
set from Radiance, which is gorgeous looking. I don't have it, but I'm gonna watch them on like an Apple player, an Arrow player, until I can get them. Basically, because Arrow's been putting out a lot of good stuff recently, and where a lot of my stuff is over either in Paris, because I get stuff sent over there, and some stuff's in Canada. Oh, we got our donation of the day, which means it's creepy face time. We'll do the creepy face one, guys.
there we go. Yeah, all right.
Orphan.
Now you just have to get my face now as this Lex Luthor. Super close. Yeah, hadn't thought of that, but thank you. That's I don't mind that comparison too much right now. I get the
Yeah,
white goes with
I
OG.
literally shaved my head years ago, like for like 8 years, my head was shaved, and that's what I was hoping to pull off. Was kind of I wanted to pull off the Lex Luthor type of look, but I came across more like and if you've ever watched a UK like soap opera, like a Mitchell brother, so it's an EastEnders reference.
Okay,
Or thought
I
came
think I
across
heard the name from you, but I'm not familiar with the show. I'm sort of like I used to be a bigger TV guy, but I'm not so much anymore. Like I've been watching with my dad. I just finished off though Better Call Saul, like the last 3 seasons, and it was
show.
really good. I just I find the commitment to it hard sometimes, and I'm somebody that I need to switch it up often. So I've always been kind of a features film guy.
Like
Um,
it's harder for me now. If it's a shorter show, I don't mind. That's why I'll watch some of those Disney shows,
mhm.
because like the Marvel stuff, because they're like 6 episodes, 8 episodes. Like I'm okay with that. I can commit that long. But usually, what will happen is I'll watch the first episode, and this happened with Secret Invasion. Then I'll forget all about it, and then it'll finish. Then I'll watch the rest of the episodes. Like I'll binge them, and that's what I did with Secret Invasion actually, which actually wasn't bad. I'm gonna say like there was some like wasn't the best. I like spy thriller type stuff, so it was kind of more my jam, as opposed to like maybe some of the more superhero like style stuff. This is more of some stuff that I watch. Now, one thing you got some really cool stuff to show, so let's actually do some of that. I want to see some of those.
I got a couple of things. I mean, this isn't. This is just kind of some of the recent stuff that I know I either watched or wanted to refer to or just got. And like I said, when you have packages sitting around that I was still uncovering stuff the other day, it's like, oh, I got this too. I thought they were all kept in the same area, but Yeah, I just a little bit inspired today from your podcast because you were talking about Criterion, and I don't have a huge Criterion collection. Like, I probably have 20 Blu-rays and much more on DVD from the DVD days. And I do remember them from, I was a Laserdisc guy too. So years ago, I had Criterion Laserdisc, and it was one of those things where I had to wait for the trip to get them. Like, it was before Amazon, obviously, and all that stuff. But God bless Criterion. Yeah. I mean, Criterion, and at that time they had access to pretty much anything, right? Like, you were getting so many titles on Laserdisc. But here's one that I got. You can see that with the camera. This is the Wim Wenders. Yeah, and you can see it's still sealed, which is another one of my collector habits. I have seen this film. I've seen the Until the End of the World. Yeah, Wim Wenders. I've seen it theatrically. I remember seeing this in Toronto, and it was kind of a controversial release because it was truncated, or director didn't get final cut. So I know it was a huge deal when Criterion put this out. I think just
the director's cut
a year ago. Yeah, it's 1007. So yeah, it's a decent number. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it may be a little bit more than that, a little bit under, but I was looking at it. My DVD collection will always be greater, I think, than my Blu-ray collection. Although my Blu-ray collection is not particularly small, as I'm seeing now that I've been playing around in storage and stuff.
4 years, man. 4 years of stuff. Like, I can't imagine the amount you have.
It was more than I thought. I think I came back to probably close to 100 titles, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit under that. And a lot of them were too, like, Vinegar Syndrome packages or stuff from sales is what I forgot about. It's like, oh, the sale box, right? Yeah. So, you know how a sale box, even when I ordered it when I was in Canada, I can kind of forget what I'm getting until it shows up. But when it's been 4 years, yeah, I was getting some surprises that are hitting me pretty good. Here's another one that I just kind of pulled.
You know, I don't know if I've seen that. Like, I told, like I said, mentioned before, as we came on here, I actually had it in my hands to buy. Pretty sure it was in Halifax where I saw.
Yeah, this you can see easily on Tubi. That's actually where I think I first watched it. It's from a company called Essen Drive Cinema. Like, it's a real indie kind of release, but this is a signed copy. This one I really it's a weird film, but it's got some of the very much 80s slasher vibe. Very attractive female lead. I think she's one Jordan Phipps that signed it here.
Oh, wow.
The director. These were, it was just something I ordered online from the company. I think I got a few other random titles from them, but it's a pretty nice disc package, good slipcase. I think there was a poster with it as well. But it's a weird film, but it's a really cool, and it really gives you that 80s vibe. Sort of like Ty West. If you like Ty West stuff, I think Close Calls.
Well, I definitely like Ty West.
Yeah. Like the recent, I didn't love Pearl, but I really liked X. I'm sort of the opposite of most people that love Pearl and really like X. I'm just slightly opposite. I need to see it again, but I'm stoked beyond stoked for Maxine. I'm really excited.
I love them both for different reasons. Like,
yeah,
X is like just like it's a slasher, but it's done so right, because you take all these characters that are normally like kind of one-note tropes and they're usually unlikable, and everybody pretty much, aside from the killers, are extremely likable characters, and they're fleshed out like in X, and that's really different and nice to see. And then you get the Pearl, and it is like a completely different film. It's a psychological, it's a drama, with psychological thriller aspects kind of to it. And like the acting part, like geeking me, the guy that wanted to be an actor, gets to the end of Pearl. And when she has that monologue at the end, I remember I watched it, and it kind of blew me away. And I was at the point where I'm like, I want to finish the movie, but I kind of want to watch that monologue again. Right. And I did finish the movie, but I must have watched that like specific monologue. And I guess that's a big part for me for that film, at least 20 times.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, one of the advantages of home theater, right? Watching at home, you can actually stop it, go back. I've done this a million times. When a film kicks off really well, like if I'm really excited at the beginning of a movie and I'm watching it and I'm like an awesome opening, like a Scorsese film or a Quentin Tarantino film that's new, I just want to go back, watch that opening again, get into it. So I'm a stop and start guy too. I love to do that.
And that's the thing. Like I rented Pearl like initially on digital, and the second I got in Canada, my first trip to Walmart. I was walking to the through the aisles, and they had the bin with the new release stuff, and there was like Pearl. And it was $10 for the Blu-ray. I'm like even if I didn't like it at $10, I'm gonna pick it.
Easily. It's something I should say I still like Pearl. I would still easily add it to the collection. It's just I'm bigger on X, and that shift in tone, while I appreciate it, I kind of I was happy that he was kind of pushing like what I call the R rating nowadays, and I felt he softened it a bit, which was kind of a nice way, a bit of a subversion too in doing that. But I'm thinking when we get back to Maxine, like I'm ready to go back to I'm ready to get blown away. Yeah,
I'm expect Maxine to be like a hard R, like
Yeah.
a very hard R for sure. And I'll be honest with you, Mia Goth, like who hasn't fallen in love with Mia Goth at this point?
right. And Jenna Ortega, who was also in X, I was like,
Next, yeah.
so it's a real like to get both of those actresses sort of on the up and coming like that in that hip title. That was just like such a genre pull off. Like I thought that was an amazing feat right there.
And they're the it
So-
girls right now. Like Jenna
Yeah,
Ortega
totally.
and Mia Goth, anything that you put with them in it, like it's like automatically gets national attention. Like Wednesday came out, and I was like, oh, Wednesday. Wonder if Wednesday will be okay. And like Wednesday was fantastic. I couldn't believe it. I'm watching it, and I'm like, this is way better than I thought it was going to be. Like that was going to be like that was going to be kind of like quirky Riverdale quality, because I watch Riverdale unironically. Actually, like that show. It's weird. It's not a good show.
No,
but I
it's
like
not weird. I love it.
it. Do you love it too?
This is one. Yeah. Well, keep going. No.
But Wednesday was like just this next level that I did not expect at all, and it kind of made me like fall in love with that actress from Game of Thrones too. Like, man, did she ever look stylish? And just God, what's her name, guys? She's really tall and blonde. She's married to like a fashionista, like a fashion designer. But she was like was Brienne in Game of Thrones? You know, the
I'm
one,
not-
the manlish, kind of like I'm not manlish, but you know, like the tough girl, the one that like the really tall girl that was kind of gets messed up, gets screwed over in the end. But which was a shame because her character was so good. Game of Thrones, the last season of Game of Thrones sucks so bad. It's just
I'll
so bad.
confess, I never watched Game of Thrones, and I still haven't seen Wednesday. So when you're saying this, I've seen some of it. Wednesday's on the list. Like I say, the horror ones I do tend to watch. Actually, one of my best horror TV experiences was thanks to you last year with Pretty Little Liars, the special
The
season.
Original Sin.
Original Sin.
Yeah.
I really dug it. I actually was a big fan of that, and I was a huge fan of one of the few, I think, for the I still know what, or I Know What You Did Last Summer TV series.
Me too. Like
so good.
Like that was really good.
Yeah, it was us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and nobody was talking about that one. I mean, I was seeking out stuff about it, but I blasted through. I pretty much binged both of those as much as I could, and I think I watched Pretty Little Original Sin like as it was going, and I was really quite into it.
For those that don't know, I Know What You Did Last Summer, the TV series. That's definitely a hard R. Like 100%. My God,
Yeah.
It's not what you expect going in, because it's not the teeny bopper type of thing that the movies are. Its twist is really easy to figure out. Like no shade on that, but sometimes things are easy to figure out because it's just a logical conclusion. Is the way. My favorite horror program of all time, like if you've not seen it, I recommend checking out. It's a show called Harper's Island. So it was shot in Vancouver. There was meant to be a lot of shows, seasons out. There's only one season, and I think it actually succeeds more because there's one season, because nothing comes afterwards to ruin it. And it's a complete story. It's a slasher. every episode has a over the top gore death sequence in it, and it this is one where the twist got me. I did not see it coming, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna toot my own horn, but that's rare. Um, but so that is a little bit tooting my own horn there. But you've never seen Harper's Island, go in as blind as you possibly can, because basically it's this group of friends. They're going to this island because one of the guys there is getting married, and quickly it becomes like an almost like a what's the name of that, like Agatha Christie one. And
Oh,
then so
right.
basically, yeah, like so imagine that, but over the top, like extravagantly, like deaths like per episode. So it's just fantastic. I definitely recommend it.
Oh, I'll put that on the list right away because and it's got kind of a slasher sounding vibe too, which
Oh, it's
really
100%
appeals.
slasher. It's literally was the first show to come out and say, okay, we're gonna make a slasher into a TV series. And man, they did it. Callum Keith Rennie was in like Due South, and he was
I
in
know
like
who you're talking about. Yeah.
He's in it. And he plays a creepy character. Like that's not a giving anything away. His character is really creepy throughout the series, and he's just so good. He's so good on it.
Yeah, great underrated Canadian actor who used to be in a
Yeah,
lot of little
Katie
stuff.
Cassidy too. Yeah, she's the star of Harper's Island. I love Katie Cassidy, Malcolm. That we're gonna have to have some conversations, man. But Katie Cassidy's great in Harper's Island, actually.
Yeah, I
But
wonder,
she's
do you know who are the creators of that? Do you know, or do they have any other? Is that
see,
something?
I mean, well, I'm just gonna peek over there because I used to. Let me just check something. Bring up your next release. Show it to
Sure.
everybody. I'm gonna check something
Yeah,
because I think I might have it over here.
my next one is probably the most recent thing, and a lot of people are getting this double feature of Virgin High with the nice slip. Virgin High, I have seen now, and I've watched it since I picked this up. Really good transfer, very goofy. It's like early '90s, so it's sort of the last of the teen sex comedies. You can feel that they were kind of getting a little old at that time, but it's a fun film. And then I still haven't seen this. I don't know if you've seen both these, Aaron, but
No, I
Hot
don't
Under
have
the
it yet.
Collar, which is the yeah. This one is actually a musical apparently, and I haven't watched that version yet. But you have to love this
That's Culture
slipcover.
Shock, right?
It is, yeah. Culture Shock. I've really been impressed with their stuff. And that was another label that was sort of waiting for me. The first purchases that I have of Culture Shock. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Well, it's pretty unassuming. There's actually and on here's there's 13 episodes and there's 13 webisodes, kind of leading into it, and all that's on here. Here's the dramatic reading, so I'll give you an idea what the show is. Christopher Gorham's in it too. Is another actor that I really enjoy. So you're cordially invited to a wedding on Harper's Island, but what is supposed to be a lively weekend of celebration takes a deadly turn. Beautiful Harris Trish Wellington, played by Katie Cassidy, and her betrothed Henry Dunn, played by Christopher Gorham, have invited their diverse group of friends and family to the nuptials on the secluded island. Although the locale is charming and romantic, it has a sinister past. 7 years ago, 6 people were gruesomely murdered by the killer John Wakefield. That's Callum Keith Rennie's character,
Wow. Okay.
including the mother of Henry's best friend, Abby Mills, Elaine Castay. As the big day approaches, secrets are revealed, relationships are tested, and guests are being murdered, one by one. As victims start to outnumber suspects, who will be revealed as the killer? It is 13 episodes, commentaries in some of the episodes, by the way. This was on CBS, so it lasts for one season. If you ever get a chance to get this, like 100%, pick it up right away. It is so good. I pretty much 13 episodes. I didn't sleep. I binged because I wanted to watch the whole thing. Because I did not catch this when it was on CBS. I found out about it shortly after it aired, and it just got a physical media release. So I went out to the store right away, and I grabbed this on the DVD edition, and kind of when it initially came out.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember the show Durham County. That's when I was asking you who produced it. It didn't sound like that show, but that was a little show I think that was shot in BC too, with a lot of Canadian actors that CBS had picked up, and I think a couple of seasons. But it was very dark and very edgy.
Right.
And I know that slasher TV series is another one that's pretty popular.
Slasher's one of those, like, it's either going to be really good or it's going to be really, really bad. Like, seasons of slasher normally aren't in between. For those that don't know, the guys that created slasher are the same guys that did the new
Terror Train.
Degrassi High series.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And Terror Train, right? Is that
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
So I'm going to say it right here. I liked the first Terror Train. I was not so big on the remake one, right? And I wasn't so big on Terror Train 2, the one they did a year later. It was just way too easy to figure out. I will say that the first Terror Train did get me a bit. And I was like, without giving anything away, it's really hard to do this, but I'm a Newfoundlander, and the killer in Terror Train was a really big deal for me. For obvious reasons.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Bit of a giveaway, though.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to dance around that one. I have seen it. I've seen both of those, and I would sort of. You liked them a little better than I did, but I really appreciated getting new Terror Train movies. Like, there was just something cool about it. I still hope they keep going. I hope there's a Terror Train 3 on Tubi. You know?
Oh, me too. Like, just to get new slasher releases, because I'm old school. Like, I love the slasher stuff, and I tend to like the stuff that kind of mirrors and goes towards the 80s era of slashers.
Yeah.
So when like the whole 90s meta slashers were coming out, it took me a while to get into it. So when Jamie Blanks put up Valentine initially didn't get like rave reviews, but for me, Valentine was like a throwback to like early 80s slashers. Like, we had like the masked killer and the over the top death sequences. And I'm like, okay, I feel good. I feel like somebody's still making slasher movies, and they don't always have to be referential. So that was a big deal. Evening Warlock, welcome. Let's see your next release, by the way.
Let's see. What do I have? I have two more.
And if Terror Train makes me shake my head.
Yeah, Terror Train. This one,
I love that movie so much.
I just think it's such a great one. I'd watched it again not too long ago. I think this wasn't really a recent pickup, but it's just one that I saw it on the shelf, the Code Red version of it, and it's just such a bizarre film.
Are there any pictures of Serena Grande in back?
No, I think there is. Yeah, I don't. I was trying to be careful with those because I can't quite tell from here. I think it's okay, but it's very small. The artwork is not so great on here, but yeah, just she's amazing. The movie's amazing. It's so twisted. It's so gory, and it's so cool.
I love the fact that it like does it in killer vision. So you see it like he has like delusions, and like the image we see on the front of the box is one of the killer's delusions. That's what he's seeing. It's how the killer is picturing people. For those that have not seen this movie, so Serena Grande plays, I think she's like a model or an actress.
Yeah. I mean, if she's not a model, she sure looks like one.
She is gorgeous. Grande is an appropriate name for Miss Serena.
Yes, that's what I was hoping you would say that first. So good, you said it. That's right. That's part of it.
It is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I look for more stuff for her after that. But the first time I saw that movie, not gonna lie, it was because I noticed her on the cover. And so I picked
a much different cover. Yes, I know that.
Like, it was kind of like a sexier type cover.
It is, yeah. And I think that's got, I forget what an alternate title for this is. And I checked, and there is alternate artwork, but it doesn't have that picture either. But it's a great pose, but it's much more of a magazine kind of story. And
almost like a Marilyn Monroe type thing. Hey there, Gina.
Right. and Bava is just so. Bava and Lenzi, I get them confused a lot, but those are two pretty much go-to guys that I'm like, they're reliable to me. Like, I know I'm going to have an interesting experience when I see those names, Is
Mikel Suave like in that one, like an actor in that one?
I don't think George Eastman is.
I know George Eastman.
yeah, he's in it, but no, I don't.
He plays a young guy, like because he was in a lot of those.
And it's been a little while since I've watched this one.
my cousin used to get these photo romance magazines,
Mm,
and what it was like a comic book, but instead of like drawings, it was like pictures, like the Seven ones that come out.
right.
But they were
Which
like
I'm still waiting for. I've got a couple of those ordered.
so like they're romance stories, right?
Yeah,
But if you got them, it was back in the '80s, like the actors were the actors that you see in those movies right there. So the Serena Grandes and the Mikel Salves, like were the actors that you would see in those like photo romance, which blew my mind because I remember watching these slasher movies. I've seen all these people in slasher flicks, and the young guy in Demons was actually in a few of them, and I think he might be in that movie too.
yeah, possibly. I'm definitely not an expert in that, but it's kind of like when you see like David Hasselhoff pop up in what is the one with Linda Blair? Oh, I'm thinking some
Oh,
Italian.
is that one of La Casa films?
I'm trying to think. Somebody's probably saying it. Is it Witchery?
Witchery.
Yeah, Witchery. Yeah, that's one.
Screen put out, in fact, put a good
Great
deal
addition. Yeah.
with Ghost House, which scared. By the way, Ghost House scared the crap out of me when I was younger. And I'm younger. I mean, like I was like in college era. But there's that little girl with that clown doll, and I'm like,
Right.
oh man.
Oh, and
Um,
that's a very stylish. Like I'm a sucker for slow motion in horror, and that's got some great stuff like that. That's something that the Italians did so well too. Really, really pushing it with technique and style. But slow motion in horror is just something I particularly love.
it's good, and the sound on that one because they're listening to like a tape recorder, and there's just like this kind of song or something like that we're hearing from the girl, and it just haunted me
Yeah,
for like days.
I was just watching before I got on with you. Shutter has a new documentary on shark exploitation.
Oh, really?
About,
That's
and
fantastic.
that's actually what it's called. And before I forget, this thing is like I'm halfway through, and it's probably the best movie I've seen like all summer so far. It's done almost in the style of the In Search of Darkness films, but it's just on shark exploitation. So it's really getting into the minutia of the Jaws ripoffs, and everything before and in between. So put a
That is a hint.
recommend out to
That's
that.
the hint movie. That's what you
Yeah,
definitely watch.
right. Yeah, and it's Shark Week, right? I think this is Shark Week, so
Oh,
they
yeah,
launched that.
I kind of missed that Shark Week being there for Shark Week. Hin's,
Yeah.
she's a marine biologist. That's where she got her.
Oh, right. Yes.
So she wanted to like initially she wasn't coming to Newfoundland. She was going to Australia because they had a program down there we could swim with the sharks. And her
Wow.
mom said nope.
Yeah. Good advice there.
Well, good advice for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Better advice for her.
For her. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, so that makes a lot of sense too. Yeah. Is that like Memorial University? Is that the one in Newfoundland? Is that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
went to it too. Actually, I started there doing my business degree, and went over to another afterwards. But I love Memorial. Fantastic, yeah, fantastic school.
I had two ex-girlfriends that went there, but it was already ex at that point. So I've never been, but I've been to Newfoundland.
My first college experience was like in a college. I went to Stephenville. It was like, and the college changed names literally the year after. They changed names 3 times in the time that I was there. And I went there to do journalism. And I went there. It was my first year, and did all the stupid stuff that you do. You go out and you party too much, and you drink too much, and you go out with too many girls, like all the stuff. You tick all those boxes because I lived in a small community, like Tony was a pretty sheltered kid, right? So I get out and I'm like, whoa, look, I can do all this stuff now. And so after my first semester, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take a couple months off. But I went back to more journalism, and then I did like visual arts afterwards. And like years later, I would go back and decide to finish a degree, and that would be a business. That's when
No, very cool. Yeah, because that was a while ago. Were you doing YouTube from Newfoundland, or it was only Nova Scotia by that point, right? Or you might have done some videos from both.
I did from both. I mean, like, so I've been on YouTube for 11 years,
Hmm.
and I started my YouTube in Newfoundland in St. John's actually, and I just started to do like collecting again. So I traveled a lot, and every time I traveled, I'd sell off everything,
Oh,
and
wow.
so I would pretty much start at ground zero. So when I met my better half, when we got together, and I remember I was working, it was my first week, I got my first big paycheck, and I said, I'm going to buy something. I'm going to buy one thing for me. Uh, and I bought the Lone Ranger set, like the Clayton Moore Lone Ranger set. And I had like cards and all this kind of cool stuff in it. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to start collecting again. And she said, okay, now I know you're collecting before, but right now, so this is where it starts. And what you get as we go through, we're even if we move, we're taking it. We're not selling, your stuff is coming with you. And which was such a revelation for me. And it allowed me to get to the point that I am at right now. And I got to say, and she is a huge, huge part of that. So it's good to have somebody like when you're collecting that's supportive, that understands it, because not everybody does.
Yeah, right. Yes. No, that's the thing. And I was going to ask that too. It's sort of a topic I'd often thought of, is sort of regrets too, and things that you've sold or had to get rid of. And I mean, everybody has this kind of thing. I pretty much abandoned my Laserdisc collection, which would drive someone like Culture Dog, I think it is. They'd be going nuts if they heard this, right? But it was just a matter of space and timing and things. And I think we all have certain things that we had to do, and I kept my DVDs, and I made DVDs and Blu-ray sort of the primary thing. I still have some of the VHS. We were talking just off camera about screeners the other day, and I kept a
Yeah.
good number of those. I wish had more. I wish I kept more. But my VHS, which used to be kind of a big collection, is pared down to probably a couple of hundred tapes in storage somewhere. So
Not even close. I've got like a few VHS here. Like I left most of mine. I gave most of my kids. I gave them my Laserdisc player and like my Laserdiscs because I know that my oldest daughter, she's like a massive Laserdisc fan.
mm,
So she gets into the Laserdisc stuff, but it's hard to find. It's hard to get a lot of this stuff nowadays. So mostly, and they're right now they're really trying to push towards the 4K. Like look at like Warner right now, right? They're going trying to get strictly with 4K and trying to kind of move away from the Blu-ray a bit. So you're going to get, because the thing is, DVD is selling really well. DVD is always going to sell. It's because everybody's got a DVD player or a system, something they can play DVDs on, computer, at their cabin, whatever. Even those old DVD players, you still see them around in shops, port ones and stuff like that. Blu-rays sell well, but they really want to get that push towards 4K. And I think we're going to start seeing, like, look at the companies, look at the boutique labels right now that are starting to like to do 4K, going into it. Like Blue Underground, I think really started it. And but look at like Vinegar Syndrome releases every month. There's more 4Ks than there is Blu-rays, and that's come with so many other companies. Like you're seeing Severin coming out with a bunch of 4Ks. Warner Archive, which I never thought was going to go that way, are doing like 4K releases. And just the Golden Girls painting the mascot. Okay, here we go.
yes.
It's like that was a birthday gift from my better half.
No, and that had a bit of a story behind it too, which seemed interesting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know it collects quite?
Betamax, yeah. Never got Beta. I loved when I saw it at my friend's house. He had Beta, and I remember renting Beta at like Canadian Tire and watching the Toxic Avenger and Scorsese's After Hours on Beta. But I never.
They
had
were so tiny, hey? The
Betamax. They were cool looking. Yeah, they looked
Yeah.
really cool. No, interesting format. It's I guess that's why I remember the HD DVD Blu-ray format war. That's why everybody was, no, Sony's not going to win because they lost already.
Then all of a sudden, like it comes out, Disney has chosen Blu-ray. It was over.
It's over. Yeah.
It was over. I don't think Sony will ever end like media distribution. Like, I think what we're going to get with with Sony is more like what we're going to get with a lot of companies, is them kind of pushing off onto boutique labels, because it's an easy way for them to make money and not have to do any work. All they got to do is sell off some of their releases for a period of time, and it's shorter periods of time. It used to be when a company acquired a release, it will be like, like 5, 10 like years. It'll be a nice chunk of time. Nowadays, when somebody acquires a release, then it's just, it's licensed for a very short period of time. And then it goes over to another company. Look at Rad, right? So Rad gets a release from Vinegar Syndrome. It's a huge deal. All the Rad fanatics, which are a lot of people, gonna go nuts about it. Then as soon as that's over, bam, Mill Creek, Steelbook of Rad, with a Mondo like.
Oh, I didn't hear about that. I didn't even
I
know
got that obviously. Well, I review.
I have the Rad. I have the Vinegar Syndrome Rad, still sealed. I've never seen Rad. Confession, I'm a Hal Needham fan, but I've never seen Rad.
It is different. Like there's some neat, like there's a sequence in the film. I'm going to take this very seriously. Okay, there's a sequence in the film where, because it's a BMX film, right? So where the guy is a BMX bike guy, and Lori Loughlin from like Full House and Tonight, right? So she's like a BMX. She's a BMX girl. So there's a school dance, and they go in to the gym. I kid you not. This is a rad sequence, and they dance together, each one of them on their BMX bikes. Right. And so at the end of the film, I guess if you're a real BMX fan, especially, and which I'm no shade, right? So there's like this what seemed like a forever sequence of just like a close up on the tires and stuff, a BMX bike as it does tricks. And it seemed to be kind of going on forever. And me and my cousin Raj were watching it, and we just we got the giggles, and we couldn't stop because we were like, okay, it's over now. I'm like, oh no, they're gonna jump a little bit more on the BMX bike on one tire before it is over. No, I love that I have this. It is so 80s. I love it, but it is hilarious. It is unintentionally hilarious if you're not like super into BMX.
No, I mean, right from the title, like, how do you get more 80s?
Rad,
something called Rad, yeah.
But yeah, no, if you ever see that, if you're a fan like Steelbooks, like, and I it's got to be a really nice Steelbook for me to kind of get into it. But it is like it crazy, like Mill Creek. And I'm a bit biased because I do review for them. Let's put that out in front on center. But man, they do some nice Steelbooks. The one they did for The Thing prequel recently, and the one they did for Miami Vice, the film. But the rad one was done by Mondo. And Mondo did a lot of this. So if you ever guys hear about like Steelbooks, so like at Best Buy, those exclusives, those are like Mondo releases, like the Terminator 2, like Steelbooks and stuff like that. And it's got a very kind of unique art style to it. And Rad's got that. So I was really surprised to see that. So that's a bit of a tangent on there, but I do apologize for that.
No, that's really cool. I actually love the Mill Creek stuff. That was another thing I was going to pull is I've got so many of those box sets with repeated movies, and I used to review some of those. But the one that's got Hard Bodies in it and Perfect and like the Sun, Summer, Sand, Sweat, whatever that is, such a great box set. Just such appealing stuff too. When they started to do those retro VHS style covers, slip covers too. I love that stuff. All the companies that have done that, I really think that's so cool.
It is it's neat. Like where I said, you can't get the thing Civic here. It's a U.S. Walmart only release. It pays to be a reviewer. Right. I have mine waiting for me in Canada, along with the Miami Vice one.
I did, yeah. You said Miami Vice, and I didn't realize it's the movie, yeah, which I also enjoy. The movie of Miami Vice, yeah.
Well, people forget like it's not going to have the same quality of the TV series, not for me anyway. But the movie literally is like a couple episodes of Miami Vice. Like
it absolutely is. And I was a huge Miami Vice guy. I really like the movie. I think I prefer the theatrical cut of that. And I remember even on the commentary for it, Michael Mann was talking about it because there was an unrated, and they did something weird with the titles and things. And I just liked the theatrical cuts right into that nightclub with the song that was used in the trailer. And I thought that was so cool. And I preferred it a little bit to at least how the director's cut opened, or the unrated cut, which he said the director's cut is not the director's cut, even though it's called the director's cut. It's one of those things.
Yeah, it's one of those basically that I hated when I initially saw it, because it's not, because I thought, oh, this isn't Miami Vice. I know what Miami Vice is. I watched it for 5 years, right? I was a kid. But then as I kind of like let it become its own thing, and I kind of dug it.
Yeah.
I'm a Michael Mann, like I am a Michael Mann fan. I love his stuff. I like Thief. I thought Thief was great. Manhunter, like, is still one of my, aside from the TV series, is still my preferred like version of Hannibal Lecter. I like Brian Cox, the way that he did it. It was so underscored, and I love. Don't get me wrong. I love Anthony Hopkins, but the man can overact and chew scenery quite a bit. Like anybody that's ever seen like Bram Stoker's Dracula will know that. Okay, they'll say, "Well, Keanu Reeves' like accent is that's the worst part of like." No, it's not. Anthony Hopkins Van Helsing is the worst part of that film. It is. He is like
That's really
he's in
funny.
his own movie. Like everybody else is in. It's in a completely different Dracula film, and Anthony Hopkins is in this completely different film. Same thing with
Yeah.
the Wolfman. Same thing with the Wolfman. Like everybody else is doing like this dead serious kind of like really kind of cool Paul Naschy-esque Wolfman with Benicio del Toro. And Anthony
Right.
Hopkins is over here doing like
Right.
Anthony Hopkins, where it's like,
Yeah.
like
You have
it's
to go back to, like, I think you have to go back to an earlier Hopkins to get the more totally subtle nuance. I haven't seen his
like magic.
Oscar-winning film from a few years ago, but yeah, stuff like The Elephant Man too. I really
Fantastic.
dig him in that. That's an amazing, to go off on another. Lynch, one of my favorite directors. I know you've talked about him quite a bit before, and cool to see his stuff. Getting the Criterions and the 4Ks, right? So, and he's so devoted to the transfers and the sound and the supervision of that stuff.
Very much so. And if anybody else puts out a Lynch product and it's not Criterion, he's 100% not behind it. Like
Right, Kino Lorber. Yeah.
I need to get that one. I think that's War World, the new Justice League one. I don't have that yet. Thank God that there's some good Justice League stuff coming out, because we had two movies, neither of which were very good. Oh God, I'm gonna hate for that. It's true. One was like 2 hours long and had like this weird like taken off mustache thing and just didn't make any sense. And
Oh,
special effects were not. And the other one was like 4 hours long, and you're like, this is way too long. This is just way too long. Well, I was so disappointed. But do you ever realize? So I guess we're kind of slightly similar, like in age range.
yeah.
What kind of messed up stuff we grew up with, like Cronenberg and Lynch and people like that. Now, kids growing up now got like a Julie Ducournau, which is fantastic because she's doing stuff like Raw and Titane, which is
Right.
kind of the modern day Cronenberg stuff. And she is like, I got to listen to her here in Morocco because they have a film festival here. And one, she is fascinating to listen to. The way she talks is just amazing. Two, she's also probably one of the most beautiful women that I've ever seen. And she's not like an actress. She's like she's
I've seen photos. Yes, I agree.
extreme. And like I'm like, is she like she's younger, like my better half, like she's better with age and stuff. It's like, no, she's like a bit older. I'm like, she seems like she's younger. And like Julie Delphi was there the day before. And she was talking, and but I'm like, there was just something fascinating about her, and I think a lot of it has to do with like just the intellect of the way she was saying things. Cross the border now, make a run for the border. I get like Taco Bell thing comes from my head already.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right though about the growing up, and I mean even some of the Canadian television, that we had at the time. I mean, very particular back in the days when I only had a couple of channels before cable. But I've heard you mention shows that I'm like, my God, he's talking about The Littlest Hobo.
Yeah,
like,
it's like nobody talks about seeing things, but
Seeing Things, amazing show. And the guy's in Scanners, right? I forget the actor's name, but I mean the most famous scene in Scanners.
He started out as a writer, him and his wife, right? Because his wife from Seeing Things. They were married, so he wrote. He was one of the writers, one of the creative minds behind a show called King of Kensington, which I'm sure you know.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
And him and his wife actually did an acting role in one of the last seasons of it, because Al Waxman ends up going to like a community center with Jane Eastwood, and they have like these married couples in, kind of like a therapy like group type thing, and him and his wife are two of the people that are there. But he was one of the writers of the show like long before that. because that like spun off like this is deep cuts for people that are Canadian. A show called like Hanging In, which was a
Yes.
spin-off of like King of Kensington. So if you're Canadian, you're gonna get a lot of deep cuts here, guys.
And
But
there's
I used to love stuff like that.
what's the Chuck Norris film? Is it The Hitman that has like Bruno Gerisi and Al Waxman as
Yeah,
villains?
like I think is it like Death Wish 5 that Al Waxman's in? Like,
Death
is it that
Death
guy?
Wish 5, yeah, and Michael Parks, and there's actually a girl named Claire Rankin from Charlottetown. She used to be a dancer here in town. She plays Michael Parks' girlfriend in Death Wish 5.
Like,
She was
is it one of the Rankins?
I don't know if there's
Is
a
she related
relation.
to the Rankins?
Not one of the Rankins that I can't verify that, but she was a pretty well known dancer in Charlottetown from PEI here. So yeah, I can't confirm that, but I wouldn't be surprised if she was related to the Rankin.
Not Michael Ironside, Alan. Michael Ironside was the main bad guy in Scanners. The guy we're talking about is a guy named Louis de Grande, and he is the one that gets the head explosion at the beginning of the film.
Yeah, yes, that's right. He's the other famous head explosion from that, but really recognizable Canadian face. Do you remember? We're on a real tangent now, but I'll throw this one out there. Snow Job.
Barely.
Theory. Okay, because it was like a ski resort kind of comedy around the time that Bizarre was on, and I used to just see that late in the night, and I just thought, man, those were the days. Like this was sort of a late night CTV show that I don't know if it was syndicated or what the deal was, but it's one that I remember being kind of like basically like a ski school kind of comedy. Probably not that much like that, but more of a sitcom.
I think the one that sticks with us all, like if you're Canadian, it's in your blood, and it is Beachcombers.
Oh my, yeah.
Which should be like the most just straightforward show, but it is the weirdest show. Like Gordon Pinson played a character that is a spirit of some sort. Do you remember this?
Oh, that one's not coming to me. I remember hearing you talk about this too.
So he's playing. So Bruton Juice is a beachcomber. So guys, a beachcomber is somebody that goes out and like salvages like logs and stuff like that, brings it back, like makes money out of it. So there's this logger, there's this big, like massive, really old log out there, and they're trying. So Bruno Druce is Nick Adonidas, and Jesse is his assistant.
Adonidas.
Yeah, exactly. and he's like Greek, right? So they're trying to get this log in, but they're seeing this guy, this like mysterious Gordon Pinson character. And at first it seems like he's just a guy that's out there, but as it goes through, it's more like it's a mystical type of thing. And as every time they try to get the log, and like things happen, like the rope breaks, he almost falls, like he gets hit, falls in the water, all kinds of crazy stuff happens. And it's one of the best episode of all time, though. Brent Carver, famous like stage actor, like Tony Award winner for like Kiss the Spider Woman, and in one of my favorite Canadian films, One Night Stand. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But he plays somebody that's like just a bit of a hippie type character. There's like a young girl called Sarah. She's like the I guess not the preteen girl on the show at the time, and she's walking home to see her mother, and it's literally a twist on Little Red Riding Hood, and she meets him, and she's polite and she's nice to him. She tells him where she's going. And he ends up like getting there first and tying up her grandmother and terrorizing them. And it's a really good, intense episode. And for like, if anybody's ever seen the show, Beachcombers, you never know what you're in. It could be comedy, it could be drama. You never know what you're in.
Well, I'll tell you the one I remember. It was something. What's it? Relic, and Adonidas, is that he said, and remote control airplanes. Like,
oh yeah,
I wanted one so badly. I was like, they were having dog fights, like crazy dog fights with these things, and it was just amazing.
It was crazy because the guy that plays Relic is so he plays him, and he's like pretty much he's really dressed down. He's like almost hobo looking in his style, but the actor that plays him is like a Shakespearean thespian. So anytime I saw him outside of the Relic, it always shocked the hell out of me because
he was a Stratford guy, right? Stratford.
He was a Stratford guy. He did like a ton of that, and like stuff that I wanted to do. Like so, we got to do a lot of the like literally, I guess started carrying the spear like, and working your way up, like doing Othello and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which was some of my favorite stuff. What's your next release there?
Well, I brought this one out. Now this isn't something I've got new, but this is just for you. And
well,
this is the older release, the Twilight Time, which doesn't have. I don't think it's got some of the special features. It doesn't have all the stuff that is it Indicator that put out a slightly better one, but
Yes,
it's
so.
got some. But just this is my
Indicator.
film. This is probably my favorite film. De Palma is probably my favorite director. I did get to meet him a couple of times at TIFF. Yeah, just the fanboy deal. You know, he didn't really want to stop for the photo, but he did, and it was great. Yeah, no, it was real nice. I actually met him a couple of times there. I think that's when Femme Fatale was premiering there. But he was a festival junkie, De Palma. He was supposed to. I went to the Montreal Film Festival a few years later. Maybe before that one's not going anymore, but around 2013 or 14, he was supposed to do a master class there. His schedule conflicted, so he didn't show up for that. But De Palma used to go to a lot of these film festivals as a viewer, and that's part of the rumors. Like he was watching a lot of the Italian stuff, like the Argento on one of his commentaries, sort of charges him with ripping off that bit in Raising Cain, right? so yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
It's homaging.
Right, it's homaging, yeah. And I mean, De Palma is the homage guy.
Yeah, like it's like Tarantino, right? Tarantino gets his like a lot of his stuff from look
Absolutely.
at well, if you watch Fernando de Leo, you watch Tarantino, you get a lot of stuff there. But yeah, Body Double is one of my favorites. I love it's my favorite De Palma film. And
that's good. I mean, again, you and I are right in sync on that one. This one, tell me about the first time the first time you saw this. You remember how you saw it? Was it
theater?
VHS?
Theater. Actually, theater.
Oh, theater.
Yeah. So
wow.
I was very young. But I was always so my grandparents would go up to. So there's no theater where we lived. So, but there were theaters. There was a theater in like around 45 minutes away. And they would go up for the weekends. My cousin would be up there, and I would go to the theater a lot. So we used to get some new releases, but a lot of stuff we got was like Jackie Chan, Dario Argento, stuff like that. And I remember seeing, and I think it was the year it came out actually, Body Double there. What's that, 80?
It's 84, yeah.
84, yeah. So it would have been 13 at the time. And I was a big fan, and I'm not sure if she was in it yet or not. But I liked Deborah Shelton right from the beginning. And I know she would go on and be like in Dallas and like a bunch of other shows. But Deborah Shelton was in it. I think it's probably the first time I saw Melanie Griffith in anything that I remember her in. And Greg Henry and Barbara Crampton has I very remember seeing the beginning of the film.
Amazing.
And of course, if you're a soap opera fan, then actor Lane Davies has a small role at the beginning of the film as the member of the acting group that introduces him to Craig.
That's how he gets to meet him. And man.
So Lane Davies, for those who don't know, used to be on a show called Santa Barbara, where he played the character of Mason Capwell. And I actually tried out for that role when I was in college. I did not get it. I got a chance to go on to another soap opera called On My Children. And I turned it down because I was bitter but not getting a role that was blatantly too young to have, to be honest. So it was ego.
It's a great story. Well, Body Double. Yeah, we got fans here. Couch Odyssey. Yeah, no, it's the deal with Deborah Shelton too. Her voice in this is done by a Canadian, I believe, is Helen Shaver, is the one that dubs her voice in Body Double.
Is it really?
It's Helen Shaver. And I remember watching it for the first. Now, my first time was on VHS, and my second time was at the drive-in in '85 because it played after Rambo: First Blood Part 2, and I was like just on my bike with my cousin. I said, "You got to see Body Double. We're going to watch Rambo, and then we're going to see Body Double, and you're going to love Body Double." But Helen Shaver does the does the voice on that, and it had tripped me up when I first saw it because I knew that wasn't her voice, Deborah Shelton's voice. And there was something off about the sync of it. And then I came across a magazine back at the time that just revealed that, he preferred the voice of Helen Shaver. And that was, and then for the role of Melanie Griffith, of course, Annette Haven was
That was
who we
originally,
originally
yeah,
wanted.
it
Yeah,
wasn't a Net Haven story, but I honestly didn't know. I got to put up the thing for. Thank you so much, George, for the generous donation there. And I'm gonna get all creepy. So with the, but I mean, like for those who know, yeah, Net Haven it will definitely be in a lot of the movies that's coming in the Melusine lineup in August the 1st. I'm guessing you're excited about that.
I'm all the information I have from that so far is from you, pretty much.
We'll be going live for the whole thing. So, and we're doing a pre-show. Malcolm can be ready for that, and we're doing like the Patreon as well. So that is going to be a lot of fun and stuff that we can't talk about here. But Annette
Right.
Haven, yeah, Annette Haven was the one that he wanted, but
For
the
Holly Body,
studio was
yeah.
like, yeah, the studio was like, no way, we're doing that, which is kind of crazy because remember 52 Pickup
I love
with
it.
Roy Schreider?
Yeah.
So fantastic film. So if you watch this movie, a lot of adult actors are in the film, like in background roles and stuff like that. Jamie Gillis, I think, is in the store, right in the clothing store. He's
Yeah.
like he's that guy.
You thinking of Nighthawks with that one? He's in the
He's in
Stallone.
Nighthawks.
Yeah, he's
I
in.
think he's
I know he's in a clothing store in that one. 52 Pickup. He's actually one of the porn people at the parties and that.
Oh
but
yeah, with
yeah,
who else is in that? There's a
Ron Jeremy helped cast that, right? Like those
Did he
two
really?
guys, I believe, back in the, not to get off on that, but yeah, it's really cool you bring up 52 Pickup because that's a perfect double bill with this.
That is great.
With
John
this
Glover.
film.
John
John
Glover.
Glover in that is amazing. Another little trivia while we're on this film, if you listen to the video store scene, you know, where he goes to the video. I mean, it's just like this is like our dream, right? There's a scene in a video store where it's a major part of the plot that you've got to go and rent this movie, this adult title. But I was so obsessed with the film when I was younger that I would listen to it with headset like this, and you can hear in the video store someone asks for would you have Carrie in Beta by chance? And then there's another line referring to Blowout, like somebody's trying to buy Blowout, nice. And you can see on the shelves, you can see a Blowout is. I was just talking about this with someone yesterday. Like probably my favorite, one of the best endings ever to a film is Blowout.
And one of the best for me, one of the best openings. I love the opening because it is so different and comes out of nowhere. Like it's like this. It's a bluff opening, and I love those.
If you want to teach people about sound editing, amazing.
And Blowout's the movie to watch, and it is brilliant. I mean, like obviously there's like going to be some Antonio comparisons with Blowout. You know, that's a given. But Blowout is definitely it's its own beast, and it's something that it was of the time too. So Blowout works out, especially if you remember the whole like Kennedy thing at that time period that was going on. So look that up yourselves, guys. But that was actually one of those that I really enjoy. I love De Palma. I do, and I think that some of his newer stuff's been great too, and it gets underrated. I think Femme Fatale was really good.
Domino. I really enjoyed it. I just had a good time with it. I thought it was, you could tell he was working with a different kind of crew and a much lower budget, but there was still a lot of stuff there. And I have to rewatch Passion, which I think was interesting. It had the look, it had the feel. I wish, I wish he was one of those directors that was still kind of in the conversation more. I mean, it's kind of been probably since Mission Impossible and a few films after that. I mean, it's hard to believe he started the Mission Impossible films, right?
And that's my least favorite Mission Impossible movie.
Oh, is it? Yeah. See, for me, I'm an apologist. I'm a mark. It's still the first few Mission Impossibles are kind of my favorite, and I do like the darker tone of the De Palma film, even though it doesn't feel as much like a De Palma film.
Well, I'll put you this, and this is 100%. I grew up watching Mission Impossible. I remember the original series. I wasn't that watched that in reruns, obviously. The 88, 89 series that took the ballsy thing of killing off one of the main cast members in the beginning of the second season. But the big thing for me was Jim Phelps. Why did you do Jim Phelps dirty like that? Why do that? One, why make Jim Phelps? I could spoil it. It's where few movies are possible. Why make Jim Phelps the bad guy? Why have John Voight playing.
Right, and was it Peter Graves, right, that didn't want to do? I mean, I'd heard he had
Yeah.
invited the original team, and they didn't want to be remembered that way, which makes a lot of sense too. Like I understand all the criticisms of that Mission Impossible because it doesn't feel as much of a team effort as I guess the later ones sort of become.
Like it's a great, like I'm not gonna like I won't like rag as a film. As a film, it's a well constructed, amazing action film with great sequences. And they would get like John Woo to come on and do one, and it still wouldn't have. There were certain things in the first one that like I don't think John Woo is at that level. And you're like, it's John Woo, he's an action guy. He's of course he's gonna be better than De Palma, but still, like it got comparisons. But I really enjoyed it. I was talking to my cousin Raj actually around 2 days ago. He was watching Mission Impossible, and he didn't realize that there was a guy before Peter Graves. So for those who don't know, there was another actor in the first season of Mission Impossible. Like Peter Graves is not the original. He comes in season 2. But the first guy, was it Stephen Briggs, I think. And he was like he was an Orthodox Jew, so he would take Fridays off, like what would be like it was a religious day for him. But it got hard when they're like on a shooting schedule for TV, and it's not like it is now where things are taken into consideration. It pretty much was one of the reasons it ended up like being taken off the show. But they brought in Peter Graves, and I thought Peter Graves did a better job overall. I just found him to be a little bit more. He's a good actor. He did many great things afterwards, but he was a bit more stiff than Peter Graves was. My thing with Mission Impossible though is I'm not sure if you remember the Lansbury years of Mission Impossible. So Mission Impossible, like it starts out, and for those that never watched it, it's basically it's what you think from the TV series. Like there's a team of people, there's a thing every time, and there's a mission, and it's usually like it could be in another country or something like that. There's there's like assassins, terrorists, diplomats, all this type of stuff. So Lansbury comes on, Bruce Lansbury, the brother of Angela Lansbury, who would go on to like do some Murder She Wrote seasons, but he was brought in to cheapen it down. So all of a sudden, no international missions anymore. It was everything was like smaller and micro budgeted. And it just, like things were taken out, like cast members were gone. Leonard Nimoy was there half the time. But no, it's anyway. I got on tangent again, but I should love that show. I got the complete series right over there.
So how did you feel about the 89 or was it 89, 90 version? And I don't remember how many seasons they got into that.
2 seasons, 88 and 89.
Right.
Jane Badler from V comes into the second season. She takes over because the girl in the first season gets murdered at the beginning of the second season. So it's like if you ever watch Spooks, or AKA MI5, it's a British series. It literally starts off where one of the main cast members gets killed, violent in the first episode of the series. But in Mission Impossible, I liked it a lot. One, I'm a huge soap opera fan, and I prefer at the time, like acting wise, if I wanted to act, I never ever wanted to act in film. It just was too fragmented for me. I either wanted to do stage or I wanted to do something where I could like build. And for me, soap operas, as cheesy as some people would think them are, is more like stage work because it's a daily grind, and there's feedback on what you do, and when you do a film, you do it. It's segmented. It's not always like it's not linearly shot, and once it's done, then you wait for feedback. I'm one of those guys that I wanted my instant feedback. So Theo Penglis was one of the stars of Mission Impossible. He pretty much plays a Roland Hand type character, the guy that has all the masks. And he was famous for being on Days for Lives, where he actually played a character that had a mask because he played a character called Tony DeMira. And Tony DeMira had a identical twin cousin, I kid you not, named Andre DeMira that was a serial killer. And Andre DeMira, during this sequence of the show, would dress up like other characters on Days for Lives, and like Roman Brady. Say it like Stefano, Roman Brady. And he'd kill the person and he'd leave like a raven's feather there, and then he'd like rip off his mask So he'd be like looking like Roman, looking like Eugene, or one of the other characters. He would kind of like Mission Impossible, rip off his mask, and he'd be like him underneath it. And literally, so he gets to play this character like in Mission Impossible. That's every week is like ripping off the mask. So it was pretty incredible, actually.
No, that's very cool. Yeah. No, it's another one that I didn't see much of. I've seen scattered ones in reruns and stuff, but I remember when the 80s one came on, I was kind of impressed they were going back to it. And of course the theme. I mean, that theme song is
I want to like. I'm almost frightened to like even hum it because
right. Yeah, no.
Nowadays especially, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, the 80s series like definitely one to go back to. It's like when you watch like the original The Saint series with Roger Moore, and then you go back and watch Return the Saint with Ian Ogilvy, which 100%. If you've never seen Return the Saint, I'll tell you this: just don't do it now. We're doing a video, but go to YouTube and Google, put on YouTube, opening to Return the Saint. It's got this amazing jazzy score, which is one of the best you're going to hear on any TV show. It's just, and it's stuck in my mind right now.
Yeah. No, TV theme song. I mean, that's something I do miss. And I said at the beginning, I'm not much of a TV guy, but I'm a retro TV guy.
Yeah.
And I really miss, and I'll get into something like watching 80s and Up again. I really miss those quality theme songs, those catchy tunes, like whether it's sitcom or, whatever, or just like those, like the A-Team theme, who was the guy that composed? Mike Post, I think.
Yeah.
He did so many themes, so many good themes.
Well, my better half, like she's from Morocco and did get a lot of their shows from France. So in France, what they would do, they'd have like during the 80s, like guys, it became like a thing to not have words in a lot of your theme songs. It was basically like Dallas was like da 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 like type stuff. But in France, it was da da Dallas.
Oh,
yeah, Starsky
they added the lyrics, right?
Yeah, so you can actually look them up on YouTube, like
wow,
Starsky and Hutch. It's so weird.
It's not quite the same because I know the theme of MASH originally was a song like in the Altman film, but I knew the series long before I knew the film. So I was tripping out when I saw like the Emmy Awards one time and Loretta Swit comes out and singing "Suicide is painless." I'm like, what is this? There's lyrics? Like, hey, there are lyrics. And it's a very depressing song, but a really cool theme.
What's it like? Was it Gunsmoke or no, Bonanza? Bonanza actually has words to the song. It's actually sang, I think, by a couple of men.
So it's not. I'm thinking of the Twilight Zone opening where they're talking about the theme. Bonanza, where you got Dan Aykroyd and what's his name, Albert Brooks. Is that it? The two guys in the Twilight Zone movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Serious thing.
Yeah. That's such a great bit. Yeah.
But no, it was. But I had no idea until I met him like that. There was like different, like I figured this, the show would just transfer right over, and it would have the same. But no, like it was really important in France for there to be words, like lyrics to them. And so she showed me some of these. I'm like, no, this is not right. Like this is ruining my childhood. But I paid her back because I'm a huge Airwolf fan, and I made her watch every different opening to Airwolf because it's just got such a kick-ass theme to it.
Love it. Yeah, that's one I bought. Is that Mill Creek? I know I've got the set
Mill
of
Creek,
those somewhere.
I don't have the Mill Creek release. I bought it at a record store, and I got all 3 seasons of Airwolf because there apparently in some alternate dimension there was a 4th season of Airwolf, which really doesn't exist.
Yes. Yeah. Things kind of dropping out of the air by that time.
Killing off the lead character, Ernest Borgnine.
Yeah, right. You're going to like this part of this Sharksploitation documentary that I said is up in Shudder, because they get into all the TV stuff that ripped off Jaws and things. And so they start talking about episodes of like Matt Houston, the Hardy Boys, Nancy. Remember that? Like in the Jaws tank, Nancy Drew, Pamela, who I had the biggest crush on.
Pamela Martin, me too.
Just incredible.
Right?
That scared me. I mean, people talk about the mechanical shark in Jaws often as being like fake and all this. That a mechanical shark to me is just as scary as a real shark, especially if you're at night thrown into the ride at Universal. Like that was a scary sequence on that for me.
It is. I mean, like you mentioned Matt Houston. I was a massive Matt Houston fan. The actor Lee Horsley would
Lee
be like,
Horsley, Sword and the Sorcerer.
so yeah, exactly. A fantastic little film that I think they put it on Blu-ray recently, didn't they? Like Shout Factory did.
I've got to get that's one. I love that movie. That was a big time for me in the childhood of the fantasy stuff I watched. Yeah.
Like I grew up with that stuff. Yeah, both have sharp teeth. That is so true. It doesn't matter if it's like a real shark or a metal shark. Metal teeth. That sounds pretty.
You can get seriously injured by a mechanical shark. Yes.
I recommend a movie called Velocipaster, by the way.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was wondering if you had any of these underground. Like, I was watching the one. It goes by the title Trailer Park Shark. It's actually really good. It's really funny. I think it's called Shark Shock, also on Tubi. It's got the guy who was the principal on Saved by the Bell as like he's the guy, like he's the overlord of the trailer park that's trying to rip everybody off. It's actually quite funny, and the shark stuff in that is actually pretty well done.
Well, I guess Haskins had to do something afterwards, man. Like because you got like pretty much stuck in that world.
Yeah.
Oh man! Also, one thing: Sinead O'Connor passed away today.
Oh yes, very sad. I heard that earlier. Yeah,
I'm a massive I grew up I loved her music. Like I had the album, Nothing Compares to You, and I was shocked. I mean, I know her son passed away a few years back. Like,
I think I just heard that in the story, but I don't know. Was her son a musician, or was he also?
No, I don't think so.
Tragic thing. Okay.
A bit of a tortured soul, unfortunately. But I'm not quite sure what happened. I think they went to her hotel room. She was unresponsive, but it was not foul play. So you never know. But I'm a huge fan, so I want to put that out there. Would we recommend Seventh Heaven? I'm going to be honest there. No. And I'll tell you why. And I will tell you why. So the star of Seventh Heaven.
Is this Stephen Collins?
Stephen Collins.
Right, yeah. Who's also an author before all this went down.
So yeah. Who also played the guy that took like Farrah Fawcett out of The Angels, if you go back and watch the show. But yeah, he's just Malcolm, Google Stephen Collins, and you're probably not going to watch that after you do. But Google him in incognito mode. Just saying. Just putting it out there. Jersey Shore Shark Attack. I have not seen that, but I really want to.
Is that must be another one with what's the blonde girl that's in so many of these? I'm losing my. She's in the Sharknadoes. Tara Reid. She's briefly in Trailer Park Shark, but she's.
Is she really?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's good. I
just the singers will be in there as well. You get like Tiffany and Debbie Gibson.
Right.
Yeah, and but I'm just wondering, in Jersey Shore Shark Attack, Warlock, is there any scene where they got to say, because I was sick one weekend, and that's not an excuse, but like Jersey Shore was on like one of those like streaming service things so I was in bed and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put on like the stupidest, dumbest thing, and that's what I put on, and I just watched like the season through, and I didn't get out of bed. I don't think even watched. I just would look. But it was like they'd always say before they'd go out, like, let's t-shirt up, guys, because they had to put on their fancy t-shirts to go. So did they say let's t-shirt up, Warlock? Because if they didn't, it was a missed opportunity. Kind of like when they did the remake of My Bloody Valentine, which I think is bloody fantastic, by the way.
I love it.
And yet, no time did anybody think, hey, let's have a 3D Moosehead beer anywhere in this film. Because that so should have been there.
Yeah, how did that not get an homage, right?
Well, the US or UK ever embraced the format of the media books? I so wish. I love the media book. I don't have any media books on my collection, Uncle Frank, which is a shame because they're gorgeous. You have media books in your collection?
Oh, media. I do have a few, but nothing special. Like just the stuff. Oh God, very mainstream stuff. I feel like some of the sets like Warner Brothers and stuff like that. Maybe one of the Batmans. I can't quite. Nothing's sticking out to me. I remember the thing that sticks out to me is ordering Sorcerer, the Friedkin film, and wanting the media book and ordering it in Canada and not getting it. or the little book.
Kind of a
That's what
comical
you're talking about, right? The where they have just a little bit of some
Well,
pages.
the media books like are bigger, like the German ones, like they'll have
Oh,
like,
okay. No, I don't have none of the import stuff. Yeah.
but like they're gorgeous. Like I remember we were going through Germany, and there's like at the time there's like a shop there, and there's a Reanimator media book there, which I kicked myself not picking up. It was absolutely gorgeous. But it was just brilliant, and I wanted it so bad, but I was too tired. It was like we had like I think a 2 hour like layover, and we'd come from Portugal, and and we're in Germany, and we're just gone on to Canada from there. So yeah, I regret it. Malcolm has 30 media books for now, until I find out where he lives, and then he may have less. Well, after Cocaine Bear came out, like that they had to do it. Like they had to do it. Like they're going to put a bunch of. Did you see the trailer for the new Full Moon film?
I don't think so. What is it? I'm curious.
No, you're not.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you what name it is though, because my daughter actually mentioned it to me. So
is it a cocaine shark kind of riff? Is it?
Oh no.
Okay.
No.
They were getting into like the Baby Oopsie mini movies and stuff last time I checked.
Amy the Visitor, AIMEE, the Visitor. It's about an evil AI using real AI art.
Oh.
So, nope.
Right.
No. It's like I went to college on Full Moon. I grew up with Empire Pictures. So seeing what Full Moon is now,
Disheartening, right?
yeah.
I haven't seen, to be honest, I haven't watched a lot of it. I know from what I've heard, mostly haven't missed much, but I've just sort of seen like they've been very short, like a lot of stuff direct to streaming, kind of going
Everything.
back to the well and making like really short movies based on IPs they
See,
had.
I don't mind like the short IP ones. Actually, Jose's got pushed back a little. We're talking in a video, unfortunately, Malcolm. So hopefully that'll get done eventually, because he was going to do a Leech Woman film, but these tend to be going in a very cheap direction. So there was a movie called Hell the Living Dead, which is a Bruno Mattei film, and they redid that as COVID zombies with like a couple sequences.
That was just, yeah, I tried to watch 10 minutes of that and I was like, no, this is exploitation, yes, but I'm
not in
just
a good
not
way.
no, the most cheap generic way. Yeah.
I saw we looked at a on one of my, I think my Patreon streams. We looked at one of the media book collectors like sites, and it is true. Like Indy, if you ever watch it, if you're looking get one of them, it's one of those things where you don't. It's like glazed potato chips. You won't just get one because they're kind of
Tell me
addictive.
about it. I've had so many of those, and they have them in China, but they're just better here.
I know. I mean, I miss ketchup so much, so very much.
First flavor I actually got they have these Trailer Park Boys chips.
Right? Are you serious?
I'm gonna give me 1 second. I'm gonna show you a bag.
For those that don't know, Trailer Park Boys is the definitive like North American show. It is shot or was shot in somewhere in Halifax.
Yeah, Nova Scotia. Yes. Yeah. Here we go.
Oh,
note the flavor.
fries and ketchup.
Haven't tried these yet, but they have like dill pickle, all dressed, and
the greatest, like one of the all-time great Christmas specials of all time, by the way, guys, is the Trailer Park Christmas special.
It says swear net.
Is always during Christmas, but this time they bail him out, and Ricky's kind of like, he's like, man, I want to be in jail during Christmas. They got good drugs. They got, you get drunk, you get high. It's Christmas is awesome in jail, but he's not in jail. So he wants to get back with his girlfriend. She's like, no, not unless you can get these list of gifts for me and our daughter. He's like, no problem. Awesome. Amazing. Goes back to his dad, says, perfect. So all she wants is these gifts for Christmas. No problem. So it's like, you got no money, Ricky. You just got out of jail. How are you supposed to get the gifts? Jesus is going to get them for me. He's like, what? Jesus, like at Christmas under the the gifts under the tree. And what it turns out is he means Santa. And like Bulba's like, yeah, do you mean Santa Claus? You mean Santa Claus? You know he's not real, Ricky, don't you? What do you mean he's not real? So finds out he's not real. So he gets up with his friend Julian, and they go to malls and wait till people go shopping and take crowbars and steal their gifts out of the car. Where Ricky puts on a fantastic speech at church, where he's outside the church selling people like weed, by the way, so that they can get through the service. And he says, this is what, Christmas isn't about gifts, not about that stuff. It's about getting drunk and like getting high with your friends and your family. It's one of my favorite Christmas special episodes. So there, watch it.
Such a classic TV show. I actually, I knew John Dunsworth a little bit,
Did you really?
Yeah, he used to actually work at a summer theater camp kind of thing that I was there, and he was the acting coach, and we brought him in, in his later years when he was on the Trailer Park Boys to do some guest stuff at the university I used to work at, and
that was quite
great guy, amazing guy. Real sad. I was in China when I heard of his passing, and he was just, he was the guy next door. Like he was like just everybody's buddy, just a very friendly guy. Pretty not too far off from the character he plays in the good parts, in some ways. But
Leahy.
Yeah, Leahy, exactly. Yeah, Leahy.
He was a loss. We got our third member of the Musketeers here tonight. So we got Brian, who actually was crossed the border.
It was bad. It was really bad.
Hey there.
Well,
hey, how's it going?
All right, it's great to talk to you in person.
We have been. We're just talking Trailer Park Boys. I kid you not. Have you ever watched?
Yeah.
He knew Leahy, which is amazing. I remember the year that he passed. They did a animated season, which was brilliant because he got really high on shrooms at the end of the season. So the next season is all animated, and it goes back to their youth, their childhood, so the young versions of them. I'm actually addicted to the Trailer Park Boys game, by the way. It's on my iPad. I play it all the
video
time.
Game. Okay, I don't know it. Yeah.
It's really good. It's one of those grind games, but it's brilliantly done. So, Brian, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Brian and Nready. Been doing this for like 13 years now. Movie collector, like the rest of you.
You did like a lot of out and about. So I used to watch your out and about stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna get back into doing that. I don't have as many stores as I used to. Like I'm just down to like a couple now. Cinema One and Sunrise Records. All the other good ones are gone. Although I am thinking about going to the States.
Are you really? Oh, that'll be nice.
Yeah.
If you go there, do you collect comic stuff at all?
I have friends. All my friends are comic book collectors. There's a really cool place not too far from my job. I should probably check that out at some point.
Because apparently there's a place there called it's a place called Ollie's, which is sort of like they have a lot of like cheap stuff, right? And they have like omnibuses and stuff there. So the big books, the big like ones for like super cheap for like like $10 and $15 for like the ones that it costs like $150, $200 over here.
Is that in Michigan?
I think so. Like Ollie's is pretty much all over. But what's there, it kind of depends on which one you go to. Like when you go to a Dollarama, right? And you're back when Dollarama had movies, for instance. I don't know if they still have them there. When I was in Nova Scotia, Dollarama was pretty much like, no, you couldn't get movies anymore. Like you could get like some of the graphic novels, but like movies were pretty much gone, except like Halloween. You get a few, like not a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I picked up a couple graphic novels, but not so much in terms of nothing in the way of any movies anymore. And the stuff that's been coming for Halloween is the same stuff from previous years.
Yeah.
So I think they're pulling it and then they just bring it back and out of the stock room or something.
That's what it feels like, because in the last couple of years, it's all the same stuff, and it's either RTLJ, RT, what's the J, that company that does a lot of the stuff you see at Walmart. The good thing about it is if you've seen a movie that's been like $15 at Walmart, $20, 9 10 cents down, it's going like $2 at Dollarama. If it gets there, like the horror ones there, I remember seeing like a bunch of like really decent ones. But it's hard to find places nowadays. I mean, do you guys ever like? I know like you're in Charlottetown, right? So do you guys like? Do you have like the? I used to go to a lot of the Value Village places like that. Or do you guys have those like close to you?
Brian, you want to take that first?
Yeah, I actually I do have two Value Villages, but they're really pricey. We have there's an Ontario place called Game Cycle that used to be really good for movies, but they've been they're not taking them in. So anyone who likes to just trying to get rid of like their standard stuff, they're not taking any used DVDs or Blu-rays anymore, at least for right now, anyway. So it's kind of like if you're trying to unload your collection, or at least like the standard stuff, the common stuff, it's going to be almost impossible.
So now a lot of stuff like I guess is Kijiji or like Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. I check there all the time for interesting stuff.
That's where I'd find a lot of good stuff out. My like a large portion of the collection that like stuff I got, like the big Harry Potter set and like stuff like that. There was a guy that was moving away to China actually, and he sold off his entire collection, and so I bought like a large chunk of it. So it came to basically I got like the Scooby-Doo van for $10 with the Scooby-Doo Where Are You, like the plastic one. And I got the Harry Potter, the big set that's heavy as hell, for like $20, which is a fantastic price, but it's so hard to find things nowadays. The only good thing I find is if you luck into like somebody that's selling something now, like it tends to be, unless they're going like really nuts with it, it tends to be cheap. Now I went to one pawn shop, and I was going to pick up like Jerry Anderson's like Captain Scarlet, the TV series. And I go up to the counter, and I kid you not, there's a Blockbuster $9.99 previously owned sticker right on the box, right? So I said, I'm thinking, okay, perfect. This will be like maybe $5 or less to pick up. That's automatically what you think. So I bring it up to the counter, and they're like, let me go check Amazon first.
Oh, I hate when they do that.
I'm like, okay, let me go, because there's literally a 9. So they're like the 99 sticker doesn't matter. Like I kind of think it does because it's not just used; it's used at this point. Yeah, and I went back in that shop like about a year later, and they were so loaded up with stuff that wasn't sold, and it was all like dusty and like grungy and stuff, and it was obvious that they hadn't changed any of their methods, so nothing was selling there.
Yeah, that makes me frustrated because I know they probably gave the person pennies on the dollar. I know like some of these places they'll give you like 65 cents per disc, so you can have a box set that you're giving away for like $5. Then they turn around and they'll charge like 25, 30 or whatever for it, which really isn't fair.
Hey, no, it's insane. It's like the GameStop joke, right? Like you go and you pay like $65 or something for them, and they'll go back like, here, 50 cents. But I bought this last week. Sorry, 50 cents, or $1.50 store credit, which is not actually too far off for like what GameStop does. That's why when you go to your local GameStops, if you're a gamer, I'm a gamer too, you'll notice that they'll be pushing. Like they'll say, "Do you have the new do you have the new Uncharted and your new whatever in?" And they'll say, "Yeah, but we got like a used copy of it," because they make more money off the used copies than do off of the brand new.
Wasn't there a scandal with that too, where they got in trouble for that?
They did actually, but that's still to this day. I go into a GameStop. That's what they'll do, is they'll like still push towards that, like, hey, well, the used copy is a bit cheaper, and it's not usually very much cheaper. but they make a significantly bigger profit
Yeah,
off of that.
that really shouldn't be. That's not right.
And considering like now, like we're GameStop basically, I guess I'll go to GameStop to buy a Funko because Lord knows there's hardly any games there anymore, which is sad. I have a question I want to ask both you guys actually.
Yeah.
We as media collectors, Disney announced that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was going to be their final physical media release in Australia. I don't know if you guys heard or not, but they made a big announcement about that, and I was kind of wondering what both your thoughts were on that.
Well, I think I'm not an MCU guy. I'm not a big Disney guy. I have some of the stuff from them, but all I remember is Disney was always quite difficult with the local video stores. It kind of doesn't surprise me that they're the ones, even if it's just Australia, that they're going to get out of it at some point. And with the Disney Plus and all the stuff I've heard about that, but it's scary. It's sad. It's sad because they really did put out some good quality stuff.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. And then, of course, they also screwed over the Canadians with the Disney.
Am I getting are you guys getting a feedback thing, or is it just me? I'm going to check on here to see if it's just my internet. Did it happen to you guys too, or was it just me that just couldn't hear for a second?
No,
I'm
okay.
fine. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was just me. I think I was pretty sure it was just I'm like. So I'm going to guess you guys were in the negative when it comes to the whole aspect of Australia, not getting any more physical media.
Well, I wonder if Canada's next. Maybe we're not really that big of a country.
I think we buy. That's the thing. I'm not sure Australia. I guess they do too. Like these have companies that are there. Definitely just me, Warlock. Thanks, man. But we're a big buyer of. Maybe it's where a lot of us are stuck inside. A lot of the times, we're not talking about just because we're in Canada, we have winter so many months of the year. But I still think that it's kind of like we saved the UK. HMV was going to close down. That's us. That saved. It didn't become Sunrise over there, but it's they're connected. So HMV was closing down. They closed down one of the main ones, their main office actually, in London. And but they kept open some of the HMVs and the FOPs and stuff. And so Canada was one of the big ones that actually kept it open. So we actually do put a lot in when it comes to physical media. So I don't think we'd be next. I'd hope not, at least. But the more they move towards get some more streaming, do some more streaming stuff, then it's a scary time. It's more or less, if you don't buy your stuff online, you're not going to get it. You can't be short of anything in a store nowadays.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying about the secondary markets there, like Brian was saying, you're just noticing there's nobody either they're not taking it, like some of those examples, or people just aren't turning it in. Because I've noticed it here, having been gone 4 years, it was even more obvious to me. First Dollarama not having anything, but those thrift stores just being a handful of titles and nothing new.
And to piggyback on that, what Brian said about the fact that Value Village has gotten expensive, it really has. I mean, before I left, I used to be times you go to Value Village and you buy a box set or something, be $1, right? $1.99. And now they're oh no, the box sets are $15, and even the comic books are priced insane. I'm sorry, Wildcats issue number 3 isn't a $40 comic book, especially if I'm going to pay premium price for a comic book. It's not going to be at a Value Village. Tell you that much right now. And it's so weird because I bought projectors there, 8mm projectors, the super media projectors for super cheap, but physical media books get real expensive.
Yep. Yeah, I miss the days. I still have one Goodwill that's close by that's fairly reasonable, but it's hard. I'm not getting the deals I used to get. I used to find Criterions and stuff there. Now it's just
those are such good days. Guys, can you remember the first time you found a Criterion at like a secondhand type of place? I was at Value Village, and I go in there, like, because I was going to school for business, and the Value Village is right next to where I went to school. So basically, I would go in the Value Village every day, and I look around just while I wait for, because Hin was like work just down the road, so I sometimes go in there and wait, and I go in there and like kicking and screaming, Noah Baumbach film, and Fear and Loathing Las Vegas were there.
Nice.
And I couldn't believe it. Like I had to look twice. Like, is this Criterion at Value Village? And this was like when they were a buck, right? So I'm like looking around, hoping there's like a ton more. There's not. There's these two. But what was the first ones you guys managed to get when it came to it?
Talking Criterion specifically?
Well, actually, boutique label all, like whether it be Criterion or not. As you guys think, I'm going to grab a drink. So you guys keep talking.
Sure, yeah.
I know I found Spartacus there. Of course, there's been a Blu-ray release since then. So
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Boutique ones tougher. For me, the best time was actually, it was a double-edged sword. It was kind of a sad time when Target and the video stores were closing. That's when I remember scoring that kind of stuff best. But right out in the wild, maybe there's been some horror stuff that I found. Like I think I found Death Spa, which was something.
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, someone had special ordered Death Spa. The store was a little bit hip to it. I think it wasn't as super cheap, but it might have been $10 for Death Spa. That was a good find. Like, there were definitely some like that, and I remember getting some of the Rob Zombie stuff that a lot of other people aren't as interested in. But no, I don't think I ever scored. Anchor Bay would have been a big one. When Anchor Bay, I mean, I remember finding Anchor Bay at like Walmart bins at one point. So those days are long gone.
Yeah, I wish I had bought more Anchor Bay back in the day. Like, there's a lot of those tins I passed up on. Just wasn't interested. Like I wish I had bought more of that as opposed to the more common stuff, like back in the early 2000s when that was, because the Future Shop used to always carry that stuff.
I miss Future Shop. Was my favorite.
Yeah.
Just when you were mentioning Michael Mann a while ago, I was looking over because I can see my Public Enemy's Future Shop steelbook from here. And that's like, so I love keeping the labels of the HMV and the Future Shop and all those rental ones now, because yeah, that's something. And those sometimes I used to find those in the wild, but not often. Not often.
I find. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, it's just like at Goodwill sometimes. I think people just get like a box of movies and they don't bother to look what's in it. And I go, oh man, like, I wonder if the person that actually owned these movies realized that their parent just like, donated a box of their, favorite stuff.
And so I think sometimes like to get morbid on it, it's like, I know just before I came here, there's a whole bunch of Westerns showed up at a Value Village and like cereals and stuff like that. And I started like picking them up and like, and it didn't take long to figure out, okay, somebody passed away. And that was because it was their entire collection. And like, they put out so much at a time. And I was getting a whole bunch of like cereals and old Westerns, like kind of old stuff like that. But I remember, like, speaking of Anchor Bay, I don't know if Brian's old enough to remember this, but I'm definitely old enough to remember this. So Anchor Bay put out this like 2 VHS set of like Halloween. And it came, you remember this? So it came in like a black case, right? And they were like orange, and you got like a keychain. But I had to stand in line, like waiting to get that release. And there was like, my dad was there and one of his friends was there who got there just before me. And so there's like 4 of us in line. And so first person goes to grab it, second person gets it, third person gets it. I get up there, we're out. We'll have more next week. I was so devastated. Like, because I wanted this so bad. Like, 'cause this was a big release, right? This was the Halloween release, because around the time when Anchor Bay was starting to do Halloween, and they were bringing over Argento. So people were getting to see Argento like uncut for the first time, because these Anchor Bay did those clamshell cases with Argento releases and with like Hammer releases too. Like they did a whole bunch like Plague Zombie and like a whole bunch of stuff like that. I remember like picking up those, and wish I still had those like clamshell Anchor Bay releases. They were so good. You'd slip out the inside, and there'd be like writing on the inside of the front where the artwork was at. It was fantastic stuff.
No, Anchor Bay was just special, and I have a couple of the VHS things, but it was that's really when I started really getting into DVD, like a lot of people. That limited Halloween with the, I guess, the lenticular or the
Yeah, I still have that.
Now I bought a really expensive copy of that for like $40, I think, from a Blockbuster back in the day when it first came out. And then when I lived in Ottawa, like several years later, it was a numbered edition, like I think, and whatever the number, 15,000 or whatever. This is my example now, Aaron. You just made me think of it. Not quite a thick, not even secondhand, but you know how you used to like buy movies at 7-Eleven and stuff like that? Like,
Yeah.
in one of those, they had a copy of it for like $5 or $6 new. And it was a number, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm getting a second copy!" That was very exciting because that's one of the best releases I can think of on DVD.
Was that one that had the TV version? I know one.
It is. It's the one with the double disc, the TV version, and the mono track that disappeared on some of them. It was such.
And it had the postcards in it too.
Yes, right. I knew there's something else in it was just a beautiful case, one of those really thick double.
Yeah,
and the new edition doesn't have the TV version. It's got like a kind of a combined cut, but the TV version,
right? And the color timing is different. There's always that little thing about the Supervision. It's the bluer looking, which I kind of fell in love with too, and it had all the TV spots and all such great special features. It's a great release.
Well, I was hot by Halloween when it came out on TV for the first time. So I'd seen it in theater. I was like very young. It was 78, so I was like 7 years old. So I went to see it with Nat all. But the time that I remember watching it, like actually remember watching Halloween, was when it came on NBC. And what I remember most of all, more than the film itself, were the previews that day. And we had the creepy voice guy coming out. And they'd have the music, and they'd show like Jamie Lee Curtis, and they'd show the like Myers and like that with the thing. And he'd be like, Halloween tonight, 8 p.m. on NBC. And I'm like, that is the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. like that's a movie. But this guy. So I would love to see like some of these TV spots, like things like that, back on like some of these releases. Because those guys, that guy, whoever the guy was, terrified the hell out of me. It was like we did it for Halloween 3 too. I remember watching like TV spots for Halloween 3, terrified the heck out of me. More than
some of the voiceovers on those trail, like I really appreciate that stuff too. Like you say, it was terrifying. Like seeing, like when you're a little kid, and I was afraid of horror movies probably until I was a teenager. I was compared to what I became an addict, but I was really quite scared of them at first. And just hearing like those voiceovers, like on the Halloween 2 trailer, just seeing the TV spot was traumatizing.
It's the thing, that's the thing, and I find with a lot of these films is that it's not the visual that really gets you; it's the audio. Like, ever try watching like Halloween without the music? It's just not it's just not as scary. The perfect example, and I've talked about this on my channel a lot. I know for sure Brian's heard this story, but I was in Alberta. I came home for trick or treating. I sat down. I was so excited. There was a slasher movie coming on. Terror Train was coming on TV. I was stoked. I started watching Terror Train. My mom and my stepdad at that time were like, "No, you got to go to bed." So my bedroom was right next to the living room. So they decided, "Oh, let's keep watching Terror Train." So my stepdad, I guess, kind of, he's making food or something, turns it up loud so we can hear it. But not only he can hear it, I'm in a bed right next to the TV, so I can hear everything that's going on. So what I'm picturing in my head, probably way worse. I know now that it's way worse than what's actually on the screen. So I've got this like horrified, like intense horror film going on in my head because I can't see it. I can just hear it. I can hear the screams, and I can hear the music, and I can hear the crescendo and the train, and my heart is like racing. It was, yes, and it was like years before I think before I saw the film. So I would go to the video store, and I would go there to rent it, and they would show like that the mask, the creepy mask thing, and the kind of the Groucho Marx mask, and on the back would have the old hag like outfit from the end of the film, because he kept changing the like outfits, and I would get terrified. So I would go to my video store, and those visuals would get stuck in my head. So I would go and I would hide the tape behind another tape so that I could walk around the video store and not be haunted by Terror Train.
Yeah, no, that fear is real, right? And it's because as a younger, you're picturing, something even worse, most likely, than some of these,
Oh yeah.
these horror movies. So yeah, I know what you mean by. I even remember, babysitters and stuff, like, and listening, kind of half listening to the horror movie in the background, and that was just more intense somehow. And I kind of love the late night movies he's talking about watching on Canada years ago, and the commercial break was like a relief. Yeah, I remember watching The Shining when I was very young with somebody, and we were scared, like we were loving it, but we were so scared during it that we kind of used humor and those commercial breaks to kind of like, oh, Audrey Rose was another one I remember, which I watched recently, and I didn't think it was that scary, but at the time, that
It's
was just
depressing, though. That's depressing.
so. Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. Yeah.
Do you guys remember Clown Murders?
Yes. Channel 9 you saw with CBC, so I always show that one. Uncut even. Because a little bit of nudity
Candy, right?
with John Candy.
Yeah.
On VHS, it was never uncut. Like because I remember finding it on VHS once, and it was a cut version. And there's sequences in that film that I swear I saw, but I remember watching it, and it just wasn't there. Like sequences, like scenes. But the creepy scene for me, and I'm guessing you guys are going to remember this too. So there's the scene where they're walking in the barn, and they're talking because they've kidnapped the girl as a joke, right? And they're walking in the barn. Things are seem a little bit off, and the camera pans like behind them and up, and you see this like person in a clown mask, really creepy, in the rafters, and that's when you know they're not alone. And it was as a kid, it stuck with me. It was such a terrifying sequence. That the one on the staircase too, but like that one specifically, because that Clown Murders has a great ending. It's one of those movies that is good, but it's not as good as you remember. And if anybody said, "Is there a movie that could be remade and made better?" Clown Murders is the perfect example of that. It's got a great concept that's not fully realized. That if they did it today, I worry they'd go too far with it. They go to Rob Zombie territories, but I think it scared me. It's like Clown Murders is one of those that would show they show all the time. They show all the time on TV. They show Clown Murders. They show Louis Jourdain's Dracula, the one where we have like Dracula, but it'd be kind of the reverse, like when it did Dracula Vision, it would go in black and white. Do you remember like they showed like the Louis Jourdain Dracula, and they showed the Changeling a lot too, George C. Scott.
There's a trailer that scared the hell out of me.
Oh yeah, that was a great trailer.
George C. Scott alone scared the hell out of me.
Did the Clown Murders ever get like a decent like DVD or Blu-ray release, or was it just all like
for which one?
the Clown Murders?
No, never. It's
Just like
only ever been on VHS as far as I know. I don't think it's even got a DVD release actually.
Okay.
And the VHS release, it was EP Speed, the one that I saw.
Well, maybe that's a Canadian film, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that company that's partnered up with Vinegar, maybe they'll get it at some point.
I would love CIP. I would love to see CIP put that out
because they're getting a lot of stuff.
I'm waiting for horror, like some good horror to come from CIP. I was kind of excited when they put it one release, and for like another deep cut for you guys, there was like this Leonard Cohen, like ladies and gentlemen, and Evening with Leonard Cohen, and it was like music video style like story before music videos were like kind of really a thing. It was like less than an hour long special, and it's on one of the releases that CIP put out, but you used to show it on CBC all the time. It was like one of those things you couldn't miss. So basically, if there was nothing else on CBC or if something got preempted, like one of three things came on. It was this Leonard Cohen special, an episode of Minder, because Lord knows he had enough episodes of Minder out there to put it on every once in a while, or just like some random like movie that they would do. But I remember the Leonard Cohen special coming on at least like 4 or 5 times when I was a kid.
I think you mentioned, Aaron, one time, Great Money Movie. Did you watch that too? The one from Maine?
Yeah. We
Yeah.
got a lot of our stuff out of Bangor, Maine. Like if you lived in Ontario, like Bangor, Maine was like the main one for stations until they switched it around. They changed it after a while. But when it was Bangor, like we got better shows coming out than we did afterwards. Because at late night we get stuff like the FBI with Efrem Zimbalist Jr. and stuff coming on, like late night stuff. We get the New Money movie would come on. There'd be like a whole bunch of like kind of like really cool movie stuff, and like Saturdays. You get the afternoon film too. Sometimes it'd be like an afternoon, like Universal horror type of thing that would come on. But I'm way old enough to remember that stuff. So. Now, Brian, so we talked a bit about like collecting here, like because we unfortunately have to travel a ways before we can collect. You are right in the epicenter of like where you still have some places that you can collect from. Like you said, you go to Cinema One, you go to your local Sunrise Records. Do you find like a lot of stuff there now? Do you find it to be a bit more expensive? Do you still find
Yeah,
stuff?
I want to talk to you about that too. I was going to make a video about that because it's gotten quite pricey. And the thing is, I've been trying to stay with more of the boutique stuff. But like Vinegar Syndrome titles, they go anywhere from like on the low end, they're like, you're looking at $40, but they're like $55, $60, and it's like, oh my God, so now I'm pretty much to the point now where I have to wait for the sales for if I want any Vinegar Syndrome titles. It used to be I can get stuff for $30. They were cheaper than the arrows.
Exactly. And actually, we talked about Tony before we came on camera. But I find now when I'm going to like a Sunrise, and like this is one of the things, my tricks that I tend to do is Severin costs a lot of money in shipping. So if if it's a Severin title or a title that I know where the shipping is going to be high, I'll buy one of their releases before I'll buy a Vinegar Syndrome title, because I know it's still going to cost me a bit of money. And I'll look for like good deals. One of the best things that I found was Synapse had that like 4K Demons and Demons 2. And they put it on this doesn't seem like a good deal for some people that are in Canada, but we put it on for like $70 for the 2 4K set with like a whole bunch of stuff on the inside. And it was on $70 on Sunrise for like, I think for a week. And then it was $100 like something afterwards. So I grabbed it as soon as it hit the $70 price point because I knew it wasn't going to stay there very long. It's so hard now. So like you want to collect and buy stuff in a brick and mortar store because you want to be able for stuff to be out there you can get. You want to go to your Sunrise and still see stuff there. But at the same time, you don't want to break the bank. Like we all got like budgets that like we're not well. I do that we have to constrain ourselves to a bit, right? We can't just go out and buy everything. So yeah, especially at high price. If you can, fantastic, wonderful, adopt me. But most of the time, when you go to a store, you know the amount that you can spend, and you're trying to get the most bang for your buck. And boutique releases are usually the most bang for your buck. And it can get kind of exciting to go into one of these stores like a Sunrise, which can be very expensive. Actually, they're probably the most expensive out of all the places that I've been, to be honest. And see all these labels that you don't normally see. Like you normally see them on a sale, you normally see them online, but there's kind of something special about picking it up at a store and like I can buy Werewolf versus the Vampire Woman 4K and just go home with it. There's something like, do you still find there's something special but like actually being able to go into a store and come out with some of those releases?
For me, yeah, it's true. Like I actually I appreciate the purchase more if I find it, like as opposed to like ordering it. Like I'm still excited to get it, but if I stumble into the store and say, "Oh my God, there's this," I really like, I'll snatch it. Total impulse buy, which could be bad sometimes if there's too much stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched the guy the other day. He put down like it was like over $200 on just a couple of movies. Not just 2 movies, but probably like 3 or 4 movies. But it was 200. I was like, ooh. Like back in the day, before the kids and stuff, I'd probably do that without even blinking. But now it's like, that's groceries.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
I guess no one's eating this week.
Yeah. That's it. Hope you like those beans and wieners.
Yeah.
That's why. Hey, I love beans and wieners, but it's Canadian. But that's why I'm probably glad I don't live near Bay Street Video, because that was such a that store. I had loaded, like, I used to go to the Toronto Festival sometimes, and man, that was like when I wasn't at a movie, I was over there. And I mean, I'm hearing it's still doing well. I don't know if they still carry the Vinegar Syndrome, the archives.
Oh, they do. I've seen. There's a guy named
Yes.
Mockbuster who every so often he'll go down there and he'll show
Markbuster. Is that a chance?
Mockbuster.
Oh,
He's another Ontario guy.
okay.
Yeah, he does mostly out and about. He usually goes to Walmart a lot, but he'll go to Bay Street Video every so often, like at least once a month. Like I was in Toronto back in March and I wanted to go, but it was too far away and I was supposed to go to a convention instead, so I was at the convention.
I gotta write that down because I'm a massive, like, I found Nready's channel through like the out and abouts, because I'm a massive out and about person. I get so frustrated sometimes with them though, when I'm seeing people buying stuff that I know they should be not buying, stuff that I know they should be picking up.
Well, that'd be so cool if he's going into Bay Street, because I haven't been there in years.
Yeah, they still like. I'm going to try to go there next time I go to Toronto because I really want to check it out. But at the same time, they carry a lot of the they have the slipcovers too for the finger instrument stuff, and they carry some of the outer print stuff. But you're looking at some serious money though, like that they call her One Eye set or whatever, or Thriller, a Cruel Picture. Like they have that there, but I think it was like $80 with the deluxe edition.
No, that's not bad for the deluxe edition now.
Yeah. But it's the kind of thing, if I go there, I'm only going to have so much money now. So
yeah,
just buy that one thing. Yeah.
I went into Bay Street Video when I was there, and I spent a lot. Like I won't say how much, just in case like members of my family are watching this video. I spent enough that the owner came out and spoke to me.
That's cool.
In the middle of a storm. Actually, I was waiting for a cab.
I'm guessing it wasn't like an intervention. It's not like at a bar. He wasn't trying to cut you off.
No, it was just like he was coming out. Like he said, "Hey, the guy," because I've been there like a few days before, and like I was talking to the guy that's working. Now I guess the guy that probably runs it now, because the owner he left, right? Somebody else took over. But I bought a bunch. I remember the first day I went in there, I picked up the William Castle Indicator sets, volumes 1 and 2. I picked up around like 10 Severin releases, and I picked up around like 3 Vinegar Syndromes, and I picked up one of those Massacre Video releases, with a Don Doler one. I think it's The Fiend. I think that's what it was called.
Yeah.
And a couple others. So needless to say, it was just my first day, and I went back the next day and picked up the Bergman set. I think it was the Bergman set. Or did I? No, I didn't pick the Bergman set then, so I got the Bergman set after. So it's another big set I picked up in place of the Bergman set. It was like around that same price. So yeah. Yeah. Oh, Image Entertainment apparently put out a DVD release of Clown Murders. I remember Image Entertainment. They were always like, you weren't quite sure what the quality was going to be with Image. Some could be good, some could be bad. I remember having Bride of the Gorilla from Image Entertainment. So I would love to see if there's a DVD release out there, maybe there's hope for a.
They got bought out, right? Image got bought out by that RLJ or whatever.
Oh, can you imagine? Like, could you dial around and like, there's Clown Murders on DVD? I so want to see like a Blu-ray release of that. Um, did either one of you guys get Humongous on Blu-ray?
No.
Is that out of print now?
I,
Is it?
It
I
might
feel
be.
like I've watched it on. I feel like I've seen the transfer on Tubi or somewhere. Like I watched it not long ago, and it looked pretty good. From like it was a huge upgrade from what I remember.
See, because
Early.
I saw that in the theater, and it was dark as hell.
Okay.
Like there's a killer in the movie. I couldn't see him. Like in the movie, like there's this like twist that like it's supposed to be like kind of this killer that's in the, but it was really dark. I wondered if the Blu-ray like kind of like lightened it up a bit, or like were you able to see like the killer at
I would
least
hope so. I would hope.
because it was really really dark.
Kind of like Schizoid.
Yeah, exactly. Like Skits, you can't see anything, and then all of a sudden you watch it on Blu-ray and like, hey, there's the killer right there. There's nothing to guess. So if you're lucky enough, if you're watching Skitside, by the way, guys, the X-ray Skitside one, like, I guess go out of the room for the first 2.5 minutes of the film,
Right.
and then come in.
It's
because
very obvious, but
yeah,
I love that movie. It's really.
It's literally like you could have a carrying like a red flag. Or, like I'm the killer, like because he's looking in the window, his face is right there, and then for the rest of the movie, there's all these like red herrings, which you don't need anymore because we know who he is.
Is it worse on the 4K?
That was a 4K release from Vinegar Syndrome. I don't have the 4K.
I haven't bought it yet either. I have the old. Yeah.
Yeah, you too.
I don't have it either, but it's. You could think it's kind of subversive at the beginning too. Well, maybe not. There's all these red herrings.
Yeah, but I love that because I got that one because Schizo was not the one I got it for initially. I was a big fan of X-Ray with Barbie Benton. I'm a big fan of Barbie Benton. She's kind of cute, and that movie's hilarious. Like there's a sequence
awesome.
like nothing scary about like X-Ray, but there's a sequence where the killer is chasing after somebody, and he runs after them with like a curtain or some type of like plastic thing that from the hospital, and it's one of these unintentionally hilarious scenes, like something that you think you'd see in like Student Bodies. If you guys remember that movie, he's just going after. You kind of expected like a counter to come up on after the person does like number one. Like I remember Student Bodies because they had a counter up like after Student Bodies, and when you kill the fly, it's like half.
Student Bodies. I have that on a double. That's on with something else, right? There's
Olive Patero. That's like the now gone Olive Patero. They put out with Dr. Jekyll.
I got it as a double feature. Maybe I thought.
I think it's
okay.
Dr. Jekyll together. Dr.
Right.
Jekyll
That's it.
Together. It's an Olive release.
Okay.
And that you're lucky because that was a hard release to get. And they went like because they put it out on its own too. But I saw Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde together again in the theater, which again was one of those hilarious films, one of those really crazy films, because there's a sequence in the film where there's a guy, he's really rich and he's old and he's having his whole body transplanted. So he's going in there, and so finally one guy goes in to give him the downstairs area. So he turns into like Hyde because of the drugs that he's using, and he's like skipping down the hospital hallway, and his like legs are like flailing out, and he knees the guy between the legs, and it's like as a kid, I thought it was the most hilarious scene that I ever saw. But it was just one of those weird movies that I just love. That's a great double feature to have, by the way. You're lucky to have that one.
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize it was that rare now, but I'll have to
especially now, Olive's gone. I'm like,
I heard that was a crazy story. I think that's another one that you might have broken for me, or I heard that from somebody online. It's only been a couple of weeks, right? It's just been, but sad news because they had that slasher video sub label, and I have a few titles from them too.
Shock 'em dead, like
okay, yeah,
like great stuff, and literally, like I was live when their website went down. So somebody like came and and told me, I think it was Maddie, and said, "Oh, all the video just went down. The website just went down." Like, are you serious? And so I went over, and there's like the goodbye message from all the video. So it was one of those times when I'm like, I'm glad because, okay, I'm live and I can break the news, but like, it was a gut punch. Same with Network. like Network just went like out of nowhere. It's a UK label that did a lot of stuff. And the thing is, like every time one of these labels goes, guys, like there's titles that are not going to get picked up and brought up.
No, it's sad, and anytime, like you say, you think about the threat of them stopping production altogether, but losing these boutique labels, that's really not fun.
Nope. So was Killer Workout their release as well?
Yeah,
I
it
have
was.
that one.
Yeah.
I have
I
that
don't
one.
have that one, unfortunately. That's one I don't have.
I actually have the original VHS of that somewhere too. That's an old video
That was a
store
weird
from me.
Blu-ray release of that one because the quality really isn't there. It might as well have been DVD, but you know.
Right. Yeah, that was with the slasher video label. I think Victims. There was a few that had that same issue where they didn't have the original elements, so you were getting, in some cases, a VHS or just a lucky find transfer.
Absolutely, everyone the slash video releases, in my opinion, could have been a DVD release.
Yeah.
The same thing with Intervision. Intervision has gone from DVD, which was a complete DVD label for Severin Films, which is just shot on video stuff, right? And now they're doing them on Blu-ray. And I think some of them okay, you can do on Blu-ray. Other ones I think it's stretching it. Like I guess they could redo the whole label, like Stuff for the Children, and all the things on Blu-ray. But do you really anybody need things on Blu-ray? Like, in all honesty. Like I got it. I'm glad I got it in my collection on DVD. But no, if like you put it at 4K things, I'm not there.
Well, I think there's some collectors that for them that they won't touch DVDs, so they got to put it on Blu-ray, even though the quality doesn't really match what you would get with standard Blu-ray. I think it's what that.
Like,
and I mean, a limited run thing too. Like I know that School Spirit, that comedy, is only on the Screen Factory site, and I'm so tempted by that. I have a DVD of that. I have one of the out of print DVDs, but
is the DVD with like the guy like, and he's kind of like pulling the towel? Like, yeah, I remember
it
that.
Is. Roger Corman, I think, is on there. It's on the top of it. Yeah, it's a full screen. Yeah, pretty sure.
Like there's. I've got a love-hate relationship with Vinegar Syndrome right now because I'm like, there's releases I'm like, oh, I'm so excited this is coming out, and there's other releases where I'm like, why? Why? Renault Cardona Jr. Like it was always like what the hell? There's so many good like Spanish directors out there. Why are we wasting time with this one? But that being said, a lot of people were like huge fans. I know Beaks is coming out. I hated that movie. So bad. It was called Beaks the movie. But apparently it had its fans because as soon as he announced that director's name to anything before the collection came out, like everybody that was excited about it. That was the first movie they talked about. Is Beaks coming out? Are you going to be putting a Beaks? Is Beaks going to be one of those releases? And I'm like, is this like a Twilight Zone universe where Beaks is a popular movie that I don't know is a thing? But no, apparently some people actually really, really love that film.
I'm curious now. I've never seen it, but I think it's on Tubi. So try before you buy, kind of.
I can't. I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about try before you buy, guys?
I don't often abide by it, but it's probably not a bad idea in some cases.
Well, for me, like I find if I watch something first, I'm more apt to buy it and then not watch it again. So sometimes, like I'll take a risk and buy something and then hope for the best. And if I don't enjoy it, at least I still watched it. It's a tricky thing, but my collection has got so many. So bad they're good kind of movies.
Me too.
But that's the best. I want to talk to you about that too. Like, because my collection's at a point now where I think the average person will probably look at it and is like, what's this? Like, I don't want this.
That's a great way to put it.
Hey guys, you like gonna watch this movie? Reform School Girls,
Right.
Good fun for the whole family. That's another thing. Like because we've gotten to a point, and it's great for us that grew up on this. Like we grew up with the video stores, and so a lot of this stuff I think is nostalgia porn for us. We're seeing stuff that we saw in video stores, and maybe we were able to rent, or sometimes weren't able to rent. So we're getting this stuff. We're literally making the video stores in our house. But you're getting to the stuff that some stuff is fantastic. It's like a hidden gem, and other stuff when you actually rewatch it, you're like, I can see why that was hidden. I totally get why that was hidden. And some of it's great because it's fun, and you're like, it's like Things. So Things is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Like if anybody talks about like oh The Room or like Troll Suit, oh no, 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 no. You haven't got your battle scars until you watch Things. When you watch Things,
Yeah.
that's when you get your battle scars. 1989 Ontario film. What a horrible, horrible movie. And everybody that we know, Hin couldn't believe how bad it was. So have you guys both seen it for one?
No, I've only heard of it from you. That's
And you clarified it's a different Things, right? There's
It's not the David Sterling one.
okay, right, yeah.
So
So
it's
I
an
haven't seen this. Right.
So it literally Amber Lynn's in it, which is
I've seen this Things. This is the Things I've seen.
Okay, so
I've seen the one with Amber Lynn. Yeah,
she plays
it's great. I own this one. Yeah,
she plays a newscaster.
Yeah, this is the one.
And so you think, oh man, we got Amber Lynn. This is gonna be pretty sexy. No, she plays a
No,
newscaster.
she's a newscaster, right? Yeah.
Clearly, and her scenes are shot better than the rest of the film. So it's pretty obvious that they said, hey, well, let's hire Amber Lynn and she can shoot her scenes and probably send them to us, which I think is probably what happened.
Yeah, there's a whole bit on this on the DVD edition I'd seen it, and I think Robin Budgie, cinema sewer guy, talks about he's big on Things, right? Yeah,
but it is like you got to see Brian, you got to see it now. Like it is one of those like battle scar movies where you go in and you're watching it and you're like, okay, this doesn't make sense and this doesn't make sense, and it's just like things that you, pardon the pun, that you don't expect. Like the guy walks in to his brother's cabin and he kind of sits down, he takes off his coat and he puts it in the refrigerator. And it's never explained why. Like it's Canada. You don't need to put your coat in the refrigerator anytime in Canada. They make bread sandwiches. Like there's nothing, it's like just bread sandwiches. They're watching a TV that is blatantly turned off. There's killer bug creatures, which are probably the best effects in the film, and that's not saying much. And there's a dream sequence in the movie that literally is there just for padding, and it makes the dream sequence in Satan's Blade seem sane. So, for those that have never seen Satan's Blade actually has a gigantic
another slasher video title.
Exactly. That has a dream sequence in it just to like fill out a quota of like of blood and death that is not in the film otherwise. But there's a whole large sequence of things, which is a dream sequence, and it is so frustrating and so weird and so it's hilarious. Like it's not one of those to watch alone. Like watch it with like a couple people, and you'll have a blast. But it's one of those, if you watch alone, it's going to be the most miserable experience of your life because it's not a fun alone movie. It is a watch this with a couple people, and
I watched it alone.
Oh no. That is
everything you say is true. And what I remember most, Amber Lynn. Still.
And she's not the one that does the nude scene either. There's like a nude scene in which was somebody they hired. I think she was like a lady of the evening, actually, that did the nude scene.
I will track it down.
Oh, it's like Severin has it in their Intervision label. I think they still got it, and normally during sales it's like really cheap. It's like $5 usually.
I have a much older release of it that was on DVD that was put out as a special edition in I can't remember the company. I bought it at an underground screening kind of thing that was happening in Ottawa related to Mayfair at the time.
Was the director there? I haven't seen Wicked World. I know he did.
No, he was a guy that ran there's like a hidden cinema thing in Toronto. Brian, you guys might know of this. Like he showed cult movies and he was kind of touring at the time, but I remember there was a little mug. There's like a secret cinema in Toronto, and that's what they were part of. But they were also selling copies of some obscure movies, and Things was the big one he was pushing.
Oh, that's awesome.
I can't believe, like, was it Vinegar Syndrome or Severin that put out like a record, like of the original soundtrack of things recently? One of them did, and that like blew my mind. Yeah,
I'm not sure which one it is. Yeah.
record. Because I looked at it and I'm like, was there a score to this movie? I don't remember any music in this film. Is it going to be like just an empty record? Because it was like
It's such a funny thing you bring up, though, like Brian, with that, with your collection. I feel like now, especially in the recent years, that it used to be more of a balance, of like real what people would consider quality cinema and this kind of stuff. But I'm just overrun with exploitation and and I think that's the stuff I'm probably the most fond of collecting, and I think it's almost got more of a rewatch factor to me. And I love hearing commentaries on a mediocre or bad film, because I find the stories are always crazier, especially regional horror films, and you never know what they're getting into. Like I was watching Night Ripper, some of those culture shock titles, and I just think they've got some of the best special features, because their commentaries aren't just like the director and the actors coming on and saying how wonderful it was to work on it. They're telling you about the grind they had, or the thing they stole, or somebody was mad at somebody, they didn't show up. Like, you just get some great stories.
Hey there, Dave. I mean, like, it's true. I mean, like, because it used to be like, okay, here's my Criterion releases, there's my noir films, and I still have my Criterion releases and my noir films, but they're like kind of blanketed with a whole bunch of like Scream Factory and Severin and Synapse and stuff like that. So I got this like section, like smaller section, and it's like Criterion, right? So, like, there's my Seven Samurai, there's my my Jacques Tati, and like, but right next to like that stuff, oh yeah, there's my Slaughter High, and that's my Satan's Blade and my Shock 'Em Dead film, and I'll have like my Bergman set, and right next to my Bergman set is my Herschel Gordon Lewis set, because they're around the same height, and Gamera right next to Godzilla. So it's
Right.
it's kind of like it's taken over, like the B movies, the movies that were in your like Kmart's for like $1 at EP speeds with questionable covers are now your mainstream like releases that are coming out, that people are getting excited about.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it's
I haven't seen. I have 8.5. I've never seen it, but I've seen Zapped like 8 times.
So, 8.5's a fantastic movie.
I've heard, yes. I will get around.
Zapped is also very good. So Zapped again, not quite as good. Do you really?
Yeah, I do. I do have the DVD of that too. Yeah.
Because who's in Zapped too? Zapped again, because I know Zapped is Scott Baio.
Linda Blair's in it, right? Like
Linda Blair's in Zapped too? I didn't know that.
In Zapped again, I think I'm right on that.
Does Willie Ames come back?
Yeah. No, none of those guys.
That's
do.
surprising, actually, because he looks like he'd do anything.
I think she just has a cameo as a teacher, but yeah, it's been a while. But I still remember liking it for what it was. But Zapped is amazing. That's a classic.
So was that like the girl, the blonde girl, the
Heather Thomas?
Yeah, I was wondering. She's she follows my cousin actually on Twitter. I'm so jealous. Actually, they've conversed. I was super jealous about that. But I got revenge when Susanna Hoffs commented on one of my tweets.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was like, I'm a huge fan of hers. But she was in a Criterion closet, and she is very much the movie buff. Like, her mother was a director, right? And she's married to a director too. So like, she was in like a movie like The All Nighter.
The All Nighter. Yeah.
But she was in. So if you haven't seen her Criterion closet, it's probably the best Criterion closet that I've seen. And because she's pulling out stuff that's literally speaks to me. Like, some people, they're pulling out like films that are okay, they're good films, but they're not going to be like me in the same way she's pulling out like actual releases that I would watch more than once, type of thing. You know what I mean? Because there's certain ones you're going to watch, certain ones that are like they're more artsy. You're going to watch them, but maybe not as often. They're more like films you study and maybe teach, as opposed to films that you're going to just like randomly pick out. Like, because when you go to your library, guys, I'm going to pick out, I'm going to watch like one of my Arrow releases or one of my like Scream Factors, or do you like, I really feel like I'm gonna watch, The Seventh Seal and Jules and Jim tonight. Like, let's watch the really long version of Fanny and Alexander. Like, not as that is bad, but it's really freaking long. Or let's watch The Human Condition. That'll be a blast. And again, no shade on any of these films. It's just like Human Condition is one long freaking movie. Like that's a massive, that's a weekend. That's not like I'm going to sit down for an hour or two and watch a movie. And for me, I'm not sure about you guys, I miss the days of when people knew how to edit, and you could get a sweet spot of like an 80 to 90 odd minute film, and not everything was like 3.5 hours long. Well, now it seems like everything is 3 hours. Now some things deserve it. Oppenheimer, I get that. But just your random, it seems like your random movie nowadays is either 2.5 to 3 hours long. Like, I like the superhero movies. Like I dug like The Flash for what it was, but did The Flash need to be epically long? Now they could have shaved quite a bit off The Flash to get it down to like a decent range. I think they could have done with a lot of films lately. That's one of the things. My biggest complaints with Cardona is like it seems like he never met an editor in his films. They just seem to go on like for 20 minutes too long every time. And Rob Zombie's the same way. And thank God, like they stop them, because sometimes you'd be like, okay, yeah, I had like Halloween, but there's a 4.5 hour version of Halloween that I could do. I'm like, that's okay, Rob Zombie. And he's always the one where I'm like, theatrical cut or director's cut? Oh, theatrical cut. Not the director's cut. Because like I'll always go to like anybody says, well, director's cuts is a vision. I'll be like, did you see the original Rob Zombie Halloween? That there, my friends, is an argument against director's cuts right there. Because the theatrical cut has this kick-ass, like I'm not a huge fan of the film, but it's just a kick-ass escape scene where he's being like carried out. And they're gonna like he jumps like the thing, and he kind of like there's this big fight sequence, and Danny Trejo's there and all that type of stuff. And I won't get too much into it, but in the director's cut, what the hell, Rob Zombie? What the hell are you thinking? It makes no sense. Like, and makes no narrative sense either. Like, random guy comes in, brings in a new prisoner, brings in a new guard and to assault somebody, and brings them to Michael's like room randomly for it makes no sense. Like there's like the theatrical cut, like they're bringing him, they're transporting him. That makes perfect sense. Guard decides to just randomly bring somebody into his room for no reason. And it's not like he's like a small guy. It's not like this is an unopposing guy. No, the dude is like 6 foot, close to 7 feet tall. Like, I don't care who you are, like, or how badass you think you are. Nobody's going to look at like a guy like a buff guy like Myers in the same asylum that's killed his sister and a bunch of people before, and killed a nurse when he was like what 12 years old, and say, yeah, that's the one we're going to go into and just have fun. Nothing bad can happen there. That's my rant on that.
Yeah, I think he was trying to make him into some kind of anti-hero in his version of Halloween, both films.
It was weird. I mean, like, like I get. It seems like, and this is like, I know there's a huge like, and I like some Rob Zombie films. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's certain ones that I actually do really enjoy. Those just two tend to be, especially the second one, tends to be ones that I don't enjoy as much. And I really think that I got to give the second one a chance. Everybody tells me to give the second one another chance, and I'll do it. But at this point, every time I do, I really find it hard to get through because the characters are really unlikable, and the only ones I like are it's like Daniel Harris and Brad Dourif. And when they're on the screen, I'm like, oh, this is really, I'm there. But then an actress that I actually like Scout Taylor Compton, is on the screen. I'm like, yeah, shut up. Shut up.
She was really unlikable in that one for some reason. And they took her in and they were raising her. It didn't really make sense to me that she would resent them like that. in that one.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, like, you went like, it seemed like Rob Zombie, Rob Zombie's Halloween movies are like, and I'm going to get hate for this. I know I am. Somebody took a Psych 101 class, didn't finish it, and said, okay, this is a PTSD and like serial killers work. Or not even took that though. Somebody watched an episode of ID, like, investigation discovery, and like didn't finish the episode. It's like, oh yeah, I think I get the mind of a serial killer. I can work that out right now. Because yeah, it doesn't work. I mean, like, I get like she looks at like Daniel Harris's character, and like she kind of says like, and guilt, and the guilt is the reason like she kind of lashes out. I just don't think it was well done. it was constructed well enough so that you feel it too, the way she does. I mean, there's stuff in there. There's such good stuff in there, and there was a documentary that came out. Like a Halloween documentary. It was like the 25th anniversary or something. It was like a 2-hour-long documentary.
Anchor Bay one.
Yeah, that one. And so when you're watching that, there's a bunch of people talking on there. And one of the people that talks is Rob Zombie. And when Rob Zombie talks about Halloween and his thoughts on Halloween, he's one of the best spoken people in the entire documentary. So you're like, this guy really, really gets it. And there's a point between that and what he actually put out, or I think he literally kind of, one, the studio was a bit of a mess, and two, maybe a bit of like, and I understand this, kind of buckle under the pressure of, yeah, there's one thing about saying, oh, this is a fantastic film, I love to do this, to, oh my God, I'm remaking one of the biggest classics of all time. And that's a large thing to shoulder, especially if you get in there and like things are being pushed in different directions. Okay, I want you to make it like as much like the original, but you can do your own vision, and there's this kind of mixture of what's there. Now the second one apparently is more of his own vision, and that is the one that kind of like I'm iffy on what they do.
Yeah, well, maybe I get the impression that maybe Laurie's, that character should have been the killer in that one, because like I thought that Michael Myers was dead at the end of the first his remake.
Well, he was.
Yeah. So I don't know if he came back from that, but he did.
He got shot in the head. Like, yeah. I guess you better, right? Like, I guess he ate his Wheaties. And it's got the best opening. Like part 2, it's got this fantastic like hospital opening. Mm-hmm. The only thing I didn't like about part 2's opening is the Octavia Spencer kill. Because like I remember I talked to a friend of mine and like, oh man, my favorite part is the Octavia Spencer kill. It's really brutal because he keeps like stabbing her. And I was like, yes, but it gets to an hilarious point where like there's a point where it's like the stab and it's like, oh, yeah, it's brutal and it's scary, but he keeps stabbing her. And I'm like, that's just a bit much. But aside from that, like, it's so well shot, like it's well scored, it's creepy, it's well done. And I'm watching it and I'm like, I get to the point where I realize that this is going to be a dream. I'm like, son of a, no, they're not going to do this to me. And then she wakes up and there's a Charles Manson poster. I'm like, oh, Rob Zombie, what did you do to me? What did you do?
I'll tell you a funny story about that. I've always thought the original Halloween 2 would work better. And in my mind, if it were a dream, if it was Laurie Strode's dream in the hospital, it would explain, why this hospital is so empty and why she's still got the fear of it. So when I saw Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which I'm not going to get into the whole, I'm more of a defender of it. I tend to defend all the dislike Halloween movies, but that's kind of, when I saw it, I was kind of thinking, oh my God, did Rob Zombie get into my head? Because I always wanted to write a little piece about how I thought Halloween 2, my interpretation was it was Laurie Strode's trauma dream in the hospital, afterwards. And it kind of made things kind of make sense to me, just in some weird way. So when I saw that was added as like a dream thing in his version, I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. So if I had gotten around to that essay, I could have. This would have worked perfectly.
I can tell you, John Carpenter, was another person that would have hoped that Halloween 2 was his dream, because he is a nightmare for him. With a lot of beer. He wrote with a lot of beer. He was not a fan. He's like, what are we going to do? A sister. going to be his sister. It took it on a road that you couldn't get. Like here, you got a boogeyman character. Halloween is like it's the scary thing about Halloween is you don't know why he's doing it. He's literally the personification of the boogeyman, the character, a killer that's got a white mask that's faceless that you can project your fear on, because it's faceless. It looks human, but it looks inhuman at the same time. And so that that's the whole concept. It's a conceit behind Halloween. And so I just don't get where Zombie is like, okay, but wouldn't it be better if he's like a whiny 11-year-old kid? like, like, wouldn't that be scarier? you know,
Yeah.
I'm not listening. That is one of the most annoying sequences in the film. Like no hate on Dag Frank. He did what he had to do. And like I'll be honest with you, like as I wasn't as much of a I'm not a huge fan of going in that direction. I think he did a good job of how we went in that direction. It wasn't my thing, but it was well done, except for the love hurt scene. That is like it's like the Martha scene in Batman versus Superman. Like he's sitting on they're like, you can't go trick or treating, and Love Hurts is playing. Get that like juxtaposed with his mom stripping at the Rabbit and Red Club, and like, what the hell's going on here right now? And it's the same thing when I'm watching Batman versus v Superman in the theater, and then we get to the point, and where it's like, Martha, save Martha. Why'd you say that name? And like, me and my better half are like, literally, like we're taking the movie seriously until that sequence, and we're like, oh no.
Well, speaking of movies that went on too long, Batman v Superman. Although I kind of like that one too, but
I know I did.
But you're not wrong. Yeah.
Like there's certain things like people will say like I'm not a huge fan of the DCEU extended universe. Like there's certain portions of it that I like. The first Wonder Woman movie is like really good. Aquaman I thought was extremely well done. Like the universe was created well. The first Man of Steel one I don't think was perfect, and I think they messed up. I don't think that Zack Snyder got Superman. I think that he should have been. I think Zack Snyder would have been better if he would have gotten other people to direct some of those initial films and write them, and if he would have remained like the kind of the creative, the Kevin Feige. But putting Snyder in a place where he was blatantly not comfortable. Superman was not a character that he was super fond of. So he makes like a Superman that's not really Superman. Like if you grow up the character, it's not exactly. It's not, but it will always be for a generation. It will always be their Superman, and you can't take that away from them or lessen it. Like Henry Cavill looked like Superman, one of the guys that came out and looked like the character. If somebody said, playing a guy that looks like he could be Superman, Henry Cavill's a great pick of something that looks like Superman, and he's a guy that like had the nerd cred, so he actually loved. Like that stuff, and I got great respect for that. I just felt that the movies kind of went on a bit too long, and I got edgy at times just to be edgy and not to further the plot along. That's why I think Zack Snyder is like when I get Justice League, I'm so excited. I actually got like Crave, which is a kind of Canadian.
Yeah.
To watch Justice League, to watch Zack Snyder, we got to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. It was a 4-hour-long experience, and I enjoyed portions of it, but it was too long, and as for somebody that was at that point still kind of invested, and I was kind of like the bring back the Snyderverse type at that portion. I got there, I got to watching Justice League, and I'm like, I don't believe in the vision anymore. Like I don't think this is going to go where I want it to go, and that's okay. But I was ready. I was ready for it to go to do something different, and I'm kind of glad that they are. And I know some people will like want to see them like finish it, but I know how it's going to finish. He's actually said in interviews what he wanted to do with it, and that isn't. It's much like when I watched Firefly. I'm like, man, I would love to see more Firefly. And then Joss Whedon like came out in an interview and said what he was going to do with Firefly. And I'm like, I don't want to see any more Firefly.
Hmm.
Like what horrible ideas for going forward for Firefly. It's the same thing with Justice League. So okay, this is what I want to do. You know, Batman's going to die, and Lois Lane's going to have Batman's baby.
Yeah, that's
I'm
weird.
like, what is that?
How could he even get to? I don't see how those two could even become a thing. I don't know when that even would have happened in between those two movies.
Yeah, like I'm glad that they stopped that.
That's a weird.
Well, you said you got crave for that. I actually got crave for Twin Peaks: The Return.
Oh,
really?
Back at the time, and that's something I go back and forth. I mean, Twin Peaks was that was a game changer for me. You know, when I saw the original show and the movie, and never missed an episode. Even when I was traveling, I got someone to tape it, or I saw it live. I think every time, and yeah, and I was kind of like, by the time the missing pieces came out, and you know what I'm talking about with that, and I felt like Lynch getting the 18 hours to do was like, man, now you're doing all of it. It felt like he was inspired by some of the outtakes from like Fire Walk with Me at times. So at first I was a little bit back and forth on it. Like, it's quite a big project, but 18 hours, my feeling is he should have had someone to just say, you know, and maybe not to say cut this, cut that, because there's some brilliant stuff in there. But I kind of longed for the first two seasons where Lynch didn't do every episode, right? It felt so special with those 6 hours that he directed, I think, out of 30 in the first two seasons. Now he was doing it all. Like he was doing the wacky episodes, everything. So that was kind of an example. Although when I watched it again, I was like, man, I'm still glad he got to do this way,
Yeah.
right? So I can see it of both minds.
It's like it's different. Like as soon as I knew it was coming out and it was going to be like totally Lynch, I'm like, people are going to have things. People are going to think things when it comes to this, because this is going to be pure Lynch. When it was like initially done, it was Mark Frost and Lynch kind of working together, and it was more like of a mainstream like type of thing, like the Laura Palmer thing. They were forced to reveal the Laura Palmer thing in the second season.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Because they didn't want to. They wanted to just keep it going on for the rest of the show. But if you watched it, if you were in like in Europe, Twin Peaks came out as a theatrical film, and they didn't know like if it was going to like go to like a TV series there. So in the theatrical film, it's actually an ending. So we find out all about Bob, the psyche vampire, to like a certain extent in the European version of Twin Peaks in the movie. Kind of like when you watch like Salem's Lot, like there's the TV miniseries for the original one, and there's the European version that was more was a movie that had a bit more blood and like kind of gore stuff into it. But this one had more like Lynchian stuff in there. So yeah, it was different. I mean, like there's aspects of it I really loved, and there's a scene with Michael Cera, and I won't forget this scene. I'm sure you remember the scene you guys watched.
Yeah.
So the deputy who married the girl, the secretary,
Andy, Deputy Andy.
Yeah, so their son is Michael Cera, and he comes in on a motorcycle, dressed up he's dressed up like Marlon Brando from the Wall, and he's like, they're talking, and their conversation just stops. So he'll be like, "Hey, I just got into town," and he'll stop for an awkward amount of time, and the entire conversation has these like stop gaps in them where they're talking, but like things are just hanging, and it's like weird, and it's like, why is he doing it this way? This, I feel like if you're trying to make me feel kind of uncomfortable, like it's working, but this is not the scene to do it in. This is just like introducing not an important character like sequence, but it was just a weird, like almost, it was really comical in the way that it was shot, but it was like really strange and almost like anxiety inducing as well.
Yeah, I got the impression that Lynch was screwing with us with that, but I still loved it. But it was like, and I'm glad that he didn't, he never went like the other directors, like chasing the Oscar, you
Yeah.
know, so like, which is cool. Like he comes back and he's even more weird than I remember.
Lynch is Lynch will always be Lynch. The best story I've heard about David Lynch is that he was it Lynch or Cronenberg? I think it was Lynch. Lynch was roommates with the lead singer of the Jay Giles band. And get this. So the lead singer of the Jay Giles band was the weird one. The more normal of the two. I'm like, are you serious?
Well, Lynch, outside of his, when you see him, sometimes he does have that normal dude quality, right? Like when you see him, like if you just meet him in a conversation or at the restaurant, maybe. But
what would you talk about? Like I try to think of what would I talk about. I know exactly what I talked about with Brian De Palma. I have no idea what I talked about with Lynch.
Where to begin?
Like even Cronenberg, I can have conversations with Cronenberg all day long, but Lynch is one of those where I'm like, where do you go with this conversation? And Lord knows I can talk, guys.
I don't know. I'm not even sure what his interests are.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about his painting. I mean, I'd have to pick something from a movie, but I feel like he'd be like, "Yeah, we're not going to talk about that." Right? So,
Yeah, like, no, I didn't understand that.
yeah. I mean, if he's not going to let a commentary for, was it Lost Highway, Kino Lorber, right? It was the Tim Lucas commentary that got bumped from that.
Oh, Lucas does such good commentaries too.
Yeah, there's a way you can hear it. You can find it out there. It's out there, and it's worth a listen. But yeah, it didn't make the release, which is really too bad.
Because Lucas worked so hard on comedy. He's like the Bava expert. So anytime you get like his stuff on there.
Did his book come out? That he was always working on forever, the Bava book.
I think it did. I don't have it, but I'm pretty sure.
I remember seeing ads for it in the old Video Watchdogs.
Yeah, there was a book. I think he's doing something else now. Like he's working on another book. Unfortunately, his spouse passed away.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah,
and that was a bit of a setback, obviously, for him. But yeah, the Bava book is definitely out there. Probably out of print by now, unfortunately, because I know I wanted to get it. There was a time, I think, when you could get it digitally through Video Watchdog. Because I don't remember. You remember like when like Video Watchdog, you could get like digital copies of them on the iPad, and you could like buy like copies of Video Watchdog. Like same with Fangoria, like they disappeared, right? The original like Fangoria magazine before they went under had a whole like digital like service, like kind of like Real Morgue has now. But I'm not quite sure if the new Fangoria has anything.
Yeah, I've been trying I've been checking at the Indigo, but they don't seem to be carrying them anymore. I'm gonna have to probably go to the States, to Barnes and Noble, and see if they have any
another
there.
thing we're losing, the magazines. Right?
Yeah,
that is a sad thing to see again. Speaking of losing, you kind of got a head out.
Yeah, but it's been awesome. Thank you so much for this, and it was a great opportunity just visiting Canada again and getting to talk to you guys. Two of my other favorite collectors from Canada. And like I said, I've been following Nready for a long time. I try to pop in now and then when he's doing one to comment, but always appreciate those videos and those out abouts. And I know he used to, when I was doing more videos, would comment frequently. So it's nice to see you in person on there, Brian. And of course, Aaron, always loving the content. And I would have to say that the podcast is great. People haven't checked it out. You got to listen to the podcast.
Thank you so much. It's great having you on. I want to have you on again, by the way. I won't keep you long now. So do you want anything you want to mention or like promote or anything as you go ahead?
Yeah, I'll mention if you go on Letterboxd, Sofa Cinema, which is spelt with 2 S's, and it's an homage to a video store that used to exist here in Charlottetown called Sofa Cinema, but I spell Sin, S-I-N. So check that on Letterboxd. That's probably where I'm the most active. I just I'm obsessed with logging everything I've got. And I will have to add my collection in there eventually, since we seem to have lost DVD aficionado, some other stuff that's been
Yeah.
going down, right? These great collectors things. So that was really disappointing. But I'm pretty active on Letterboxd, so check me on there. And you can always often see me in the Cult of Cinema comments section on the side. Right. So great to talk to you guys. Sorry I got to head out now, but really enjoyed this.
I'll talk to you later, Tony. Have a great evening there, man.
All right.
Good to speak to you finally. Yeah.
Yeah. See you later.
So how are you doing?
I'm all right. I was really tempted to try to start streaming in the car in the tunnel. So I was trying.
I do want to get.
Yeah, but the mission's got that new they call it the hands-free law. So if they catch you with on your cell phone, they'll give you a ticket. So
We were in Halifax, and so I had because it was just after my kids had moved there, and I had the phone, right? So we're GPSing, and so we're trying to find out where to go. And this Karen comes along. Like, I'm not driving. My better half's driving, but I've got the phone. I'm like, okay, we got to go this way. And she's like, are you using a phone while you're driving? I'm like, I'm not driving. I said, still, He's like, never like, I'm like, never like, I'm not gonna, I would never hit a girl, but maybe I'd pay somebody. Like, she was the total Karen. And I worked at a place where like Karens were like, were a common thing.
Yeah.
And the horror of the Karen.
What time is it where you're at right now?
Right now, where I'm at, it is 12:57. So I started here about like 3 hours ago.
Wow.
So it's like, what time's it there? Like, it's so
it's almost 8 o'clock. I think I messed up with you and I got the time difference wrong. So I started panicking when I saw, because I set it when I was at work for the stream start, so I can at least watch it. And then it clicked on, and I was like, "Oh, I'm still at work." And then there was like then there was the tunnels backed up. There was a Tiger game, and I was normally when I merge into the tunnel, because there's only really one lane at a certain point. I'm usually quite passive. I was like, "No, I'm getting in, out of my way." So.
But no, it's been like I got to get back to Ontario again sometime. We initially, before we moved back to Morocco, that Ontario was our first idea. We were going between, if we hadn't got the place here, we were between Ottawa, and because it had like the big city and the little town element of it, and my better half kind of likes that, and London, England. Which were the two places that we wanted to the most. But we're literally right in the heart of the city right here in Marrakesh. So we go outside. It's like just a stroll to the mall area.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're saying there's not much in the way of physical media down there, you were saying?
Pretty much nothing. I mean, like when I first got here, I went to like this Virgin Mobile like superstore. And there was this little tiny bin, like just like really like it's way smaller than like a Walmart bin, just a really, really tiny bin. And it had like some movies, like around like 3 rows of movies there. And I was excited, and I picked up a couple things at that point. And I found a couple like 3D films for my dad, because my dad collects 3D movies. And they were like dance movies, right? But they're like 3D ones. And one of them was like one of the Step Up movies, but it was called something else. Because it was like in French. So, but the 3D was amazing. Like, we're really shocked. And we picked up a couple other releases, but when I went back there recently, there was nothing. Like the bin was gone. I think they're just getting rid of the stuff that was left over. Even like when I recently went to Halifax, just outside, like in Lower Sackville area, I went to a Walmart there. And literally, like, it was really cut down. There was barely anything in the Walmart there.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I miss the days, because Walmarts are kind of weird, because like they'll carry a lot of the Shudder releases, but the thing about them is they don't restock. So if something comes, you gotta get it. But it's mostly DVD. So even if there is like a Blu-ray release, like that VHS 99, they had it there, and Skinamarink they had there too. But both of those were VHS releases.
Did you like Skinamarink, by the way? Actually, kind of dug on it.
Yeah, I watched that with my daughter. It's a weird film because, like, in a way, like it's weird because it's like I'm not really a big fan of it, but I kind of wish I directed it. So it's kind of this is such a great idea for a movie, you
Like
know.
it creeped me out a bit, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, like DVDs are the easiest ones to find for Shutter. Like I remember I picked up Boar, and I got like a few others. I got Scare Package,
Mm.
and then somebody from the States actually sent me a Scare Package on Blu-ray. Because like it was they had it on Blu-ray there, and we only got like DVD copies.
Yeah, that one has a better special feature, right? It has that drive-in Joe Bob Briggs special feature on it.
Yeah, like that, which is something you need
Yeah.
for that, like scare, because that was a big like deal. Like they did Scare. I remember that day because Joe Bob Briggs is in Scare Package. So they did two movies, right? They did Scare Package and
Mhm.
another movie for that drive-in one. And is Darcy in either one? I'm trying to remember if Darcy's in Scare Package.
I don't know. I need to pick it up. They have a copy of it at Sunrise Records, but it's pretty pricey. But the thing I noticed, like sometimes in the States, especially in Detroit, like the Dollar Trees sometimes get Shutter movies, so they're like $1.25 or whatever. So I'm afraid to buy anything over here for $30 and then go there one day and see it on Blu-ray or DVD for $1.25.
Yeah, because I bought I bought Scare Package in Walmart for like $9.99.
Yeah, that's a good price for
But that
that.
was the DVD, right? Like
Yeah.
the Blu-ray didn't show up, but it's worth it to wait and like see if you can find the Blu-ray because that features, it's definitely kind of something that you want to have. It's like when I got Ice Cream Man from like Vinegar Syndrome. You
Yeah.
had, like a big summer school thing on there, right?
Yeah, I bought that one because of you too, and I actually watched it with the version where they sit down and speak in between the movie. Made the movie last really long though. It was like, but I still enjoyed.
It's fun. I mean, like that was like one of the, and that's like you would think that'd be one of the normal like drive-in ones, but no, it's like it's a summer school edition. So like Clint Howard comes in for that, and
Yeah.
what a unusual like he had like his brother who became a famous director and
Yeah.
Richie like in Happy Days, and you got Clint Howard who was like a cute little kid, but grew up like
Yeah, really awkward looking. It's really unfortunate for him.
I but in a weird way fortunate because like he's managed to get a lot of roles, I guess, but probably not what he wants. I get.
Yeah, because yeah, I guess I'd rather be a character actor as opposed to someone that you have to hang the movie on. Because like you work a lot longer as a character actor as opposed to someone telling you, oh, you're no longer viable for whatever reason.
Yeah, like you get stuck in like you think George Reeves, like Superman, bam, that's what he was. Dwight Fry, did a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I'd rather be a Dwight Fry than I would be like the matinee idol. And I think like with my look, I'd be a character actor anyway. But I would no, I have no. Even when I was in acting, did you ever go into acting or?
No, I did like you. I did journalism. I wanted to be a filmmaker, but I didn't. But I just didn't know anybody. It's like now it's so cool because you can just use your phone or whatever, or the digital camera, and you can make a movie with like no budget.
Oh yeah, and like you pay like $300 and something, you get Final Cut Pro, and you're like like a professional. And even like just with a limit, you got a Mac, you're running with with an iMovie, and you can actually kind of work within that perimeters a bit too as you're learning. I do a lot of my stuff on I'm right now. This is like a MacBook Air, and that's what I normally use for my videos. So because it's got the there's better sound for the speakers, and I just love to I love to edit on iMovie. I want to eventually, like one of these days, when I upgrade to MacBook Pro and get Final Cut, and just what I would love to have. And you've seen this like the Apple Vision, right? So you got this like 3D. My dream is like that. This works out really well, and I can actually edit videos and like maybe make videos with a headset.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
Because like that's one of the first things when they announced it. Like some people are thinking, oh well, you can like what about video games? Like I don't care. Like there's lots of stuff for video games, but the idea of like going in and using the properties to edit and just like kind of like to film because you can green screen, you can film yourself. behind there, and because you can do like Zoom calls and kind of do FaceTimes and all that type of stuff with it. So and there's like you can use programs within like Mac OS. So I'm just picturing the like getting to the point where like Final Cut Pro is there, and you can actually film stuff and edit stuff within this within this landscape, which kind of blows my mind. It's a filmmaker in me, right? Like I still love something like that. I if you were going to make something, if you're going to make a film, what type would you a film would you like?
It'd probably be a horror film. Like comedy would be a lot harder. My buddy and I, we once had the idea for a film, like a comedy film where all the interesting stuff was happening in the background as opposed to what was going on in the foreground. But but it'd be so hard to, pull something like that off,
That is,
It'd probably end up being something like Slacker or something. I don't know.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
It is hard as heck to like,
Yeah.
but it's a great idea. I could not do comedy because I'm a dad and I have dad humor, but mostly because I think comedy is the hardest thing to do because comedy is so subjective. Like horror for me would be like horror exploitation would kind of be my sweet spot, or documentary, because like journalism was kind of my thing. So the idea of and being on here, like obviously we're not shy when it comes to being in front of the camera. So the whole or even like using our voice. So the idea of like doing something, I'm a documentarian because I wrote and I actually I've got so many unfinished books and none of them are fiction. All of them are nonfiction. But I was working on an exploitation book and I stopped working on it for a while. And then They Came From Within came out.
Oh.
And I'm like, damn it. Great book, but it was a similar concept that I was doing. But a brilliant book on exploitation. But I would love to do something on that. I love to do a documentary, like a really good documentary on exploitation, because it's such
really good.
Period, right? Because we literally our tax dollars and our tax incentives kind of bolstered the horror genre by such a huge degree.
Yeah, that's really true. Actually, I just recently met Lynn Griffin from who was in Black Christmas and in what was the name of the movie? Curtains. Yeah. She's a really nice lady, but I got her to sign my copy of Curtains. But yeah, you're right, because on that version, that's Snap's version of Curtains, they have a documentary that was done from the Ontario Film Board, where the director was which is a really weird extra. It only really matters for people like us. Like anybody else in the States probably saw it, what the hell is this?
So Lynn Griffin. So man, I'm so jealous. I had a huge crush on Lynn Griffin when I was young, and especially because she's such a pivotal role in Black Christmas. But it's such you blink almost and you miss her. She's the first victim, but she's the haunting part because it's that plastic bag sequence in the. Which is for me is one of the absolute scariest parts of any slashers like her upstairs. And the neat thing is that the cat jumps up and kind of licks her, and that wasn't in the movie. That wasn't scripted. The cat just did that, and they kept it in.
Yeah,
which made it even creepier. It made it just a little bit more real. And then without giving anything away, she plays a very different character.
Yeah,
in Curtains. And she's so good in it. She is so good in that. She's so underrated. I wish I would have seen her in more stuff. It's one of those actors that I wish, and I probably have seen her stuff that I don't even realize that I've seen her in.
Well, she was in Strange Brew as well, which was kind of
another fantastic Canadian film for those who know. Bob Doug McKenzie.
Yeah,
I love that movie. It's so weird. You get this SCTV spin-off film. And Max von Sydow was in it as this evil brewmaster. We grew up on weird films, man.
Yeah, we sure did.
I always wondered if they could have done a little more with the Dr. Tongue sequence. So for those who don't know, by the way, if you're watching this, SCTV was the Saturday Night Live, but in my opinion, smarter than Saturday Night Live. and they did this sequence with where John Candy would play this like they'd have like Kemp Floyd, and Kemp Floyd would be like this horror host, this TV horror host. He would show like only the worst movies, and they would have like 3D films, but these like cheap 3D films. So like you didn't even need glasses. So John Candy had this character called Dr. Tongue, and it would be along the lines of, "Would you like to answer the phone?" Ta-da.
Yeah. The musical cues would sting when
Yeah.
they do that.
Like it was so amazing. It was such an amazing time. And it was like for a year, like SCTV actually took the place of Saturday Night Live sometimes. And they're like, okay, maybe we're gonna like strike it big. And all of a sudden you just like, nope. They said, can you make it more Canadian? Like the whole Bob Doug McKenzie thing was not initially part of SCTV. They like when they shot it in Canada, when they shot sequences in Canada, there were less commercials than there were in the United States. United States had more commercials. So when Edmonton, which is where they like filmed a lot of the stuff at, they said, well, can you put more Canadian content in it? And they were frustrated. And they said, well, we'll put on some toques and it's like, cook some back bacon and like have some beer. And they're like, yeah, perfect. That's a great idea. So Bob and Doug McKenzie was like a sarcastic like retort to the people that want him to do more Canadian content. So it was never supposed to be. So it was just a happy accident.
Yeah. So is Mick Moranis, is he going back to that? Is he going back to that series, that Honey, I Shrunk the Kids series? He's coming back to that? Is he unretiring or?
And like he retired for a long time, like to raise his kids and stuff.
Yeah.
But I hope I want to see him do something. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, like now they're doing a new Ghostbusters. I would love to have seen him in one of those. Just to have him back. But unfortunately, I don't see that happening. Just the way they're going with it.
Yeah.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was a big thing for him. Peter Scolari, of course, did the thing for TV. Unfortunately, I think Peter Scolari's passed away, right?
I'm not sure. Possibly.
Am I killing someone? It's not dead. But I've done it before. That sounds ominous. But yeah, no, I would love to see him. I hope he is. I really hope he is, because he deserves it. He's a guy that like was super genius.
Yeah.
And
Stuart Gordon was supposed to direct Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Was he really?
Yeah. He still has script writing credits for the movie. But I think Disney realized what kind of films he had made before, and they kind of got cold feet, and it's kind of ironic.
Yeah,
didn't stop him from hiring Victor Salva for that Powder movie.
Yeah, which you know why, right? Yeah. Who does Victor Salva knows? He knows the Coppola, he knows the Scorsese guy, he knows those guys. If he didn't, he would never have been in that, I don't think.
Yeah, you're right.
In 2021. Yeah, I was a big fan. I was a big fan of Newhart. And I remember Booze and Buddies was a short-lived series with Tom Hanks and Peter Scolari. But he was really, really good at Newhart. That was like Peter Scolari's like key character.
Yeah.
But I would love to see him. I remember Rick Moranis kind of like, what's the right word? Kind of like did music video before music video was the thing. So on SCTV, he played this, like, one of the characters he played was this really pretentious kind of music character who like really knew, like he was really into like tech and stuff like that. And he would like do like music video type of things before music videos were a thing. Like he was way ahead of his time. Because in SCTV, when they had musical guests on the show, it wasn't like Saturday Night Live. It wasn't like, okay, we got Hall & Oates on, we're gonna have them sing 2 songs. No, it was like, okay, we got Hall & Oates or Tony Bennett on, let's put them in a skit. Wouldn't have them sing. No, if anybody was going to sing, it would be one of the cast members, like pretend to be somebody like a Bob Hope. Or one of my favorite skits is what's his name? He's the really relaxed guy. He's like he's singing, he's lying down and he's singing, Like he's like when he sings, like it's the most relaxing singing in the world. It was like a singer is just lying in a bed, and it's like he's literally half awake, and it is so brilliantly done. I'm a huge SCTV fan. That's my humor. That's like
Yeah.
I grew up in SCTV and like Monty Python. Those were the things that kind of molded me. It made me weird, I guess.
Yep. Yeah. I went through the box set of that SCTV. I don't know. I'll have to look that up too.
They show put out a few. They're hard to find now.
Yeah.
Some of them are still in print. They did have the SCTV 90, which was the season, the United States season, the longer season. That's it. I think that's the one I do have. But there was a time they were like super cheap when Zellers. Remember Zellers?
Yeah.
So you'd be able to find them at Zellers for like $9.99, and I didn't pick them up, and I could kick myself now because they're expensive as hell.
Yeah. Zellers is supposedly supposed to be coming back. So
Have you seen like any of the revamped Zellers that have?
No, I haven't seen anything yet. I'm gonna have to look around, but I haven't seen anything in my town. So
Because first I heard it was gonna be like a pop up within a bay, and then I heard that no, they're gonna make Zellers its own thing. So what I want, because I know you probably shopped the Zellers show, I want to see an actual Zellers with the restaurant, because nothing beats like the Zellers, like the fries with the gravy, and the best apple pie.
yeah.
It was so good. I used to work at Zellers. I worked at Zellers. I worked there for over a year. Do you remember the TV show Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? Yep, that's where Peter Scolari. That's where the name came up for that, because he was in that.
Yep. Yeah, Zellers was an awesome place. Back in the day, they were one of the few places that they made their own videotape, which I was stupid enough to buy so I could dupe movies on you, because it was cheaper than like the brand name VHS tape.
Oh yeah, the ones that sometimes when they first came out were like $50 and stuff.
Yeah.
To get a tape, and then they got into cheap to like $20.
Yeah.
That's why VHS beat Betamax, is because like VHS could actually run like a 2 hours to up to like what it means you did different speeds, 6 hours, and Beta could only ever do like an hour to 2 hours.
Yeah.
So that was the key thing, because Beta had better quality than VHS. It's just
well, people wanted to get more movies on the tape, right? Like especially if you got an 8-hour tape back when that was a.
Oh yeah, and then sports events, like people want to like, if you're a sports person, want to like dip off the hockey game or something like that. Yeah, perfect. You can do it with VHS. You can do it with Beta.
Yeah, like 3-hour game. It's not going to fit on Beta. If you want half the game, I guess you can choose which half you want.
Yeah, that's correct. Like you could be like there. You had to like go home like halfway. Like, okay, the tape's almost over. I gotta go switch, put the other tape in. The killer thing too, and I don't know if you did this, but I remember like having stuff on VHS and then like taping it over to get something else, and then like down the road kicking yourself that you taped it over, because what you had before was like way rarer than what you taped off afterwards.
If I could go back, because I don't know if you did this. I used to do this thing where when I used to tape stuff off TV, I used to pause during the commercials, which actually I killed a couple of VCRs that way, because the pause button was like the one thing that would actually, but I used to, 3 minutes. And then there's a local station in this area that was black-owned called Channel 62, and they had 5-minute commercials. And I didn't realize that until I went to record something and it shut off because it was longer than 3 minutes, but now I wish I had kept the commercials and just for the commercials,
I used to, what I would do sometimes is I would, like when channels would stay on all night and there's a movie or something, or some show I wanted to watch, what I would do was I'd tape, like I'd set the tape for like the whole thing. So I taped the whole night. So I'd end up like with a movie and like a random episode of Studs, which was a Fox station show, which like eerily enough, like I remember having it, and the guy from the O.J. Simpson thing, the guy that was murdered with Nicole Simpson, he was on Studs, and he was like, I had the episode he was on tape for a while, and it was kind of morbid, so I actually ended up taping it over, because I was like, oh no, this is
I didn't
kind of,
realize that Ron Goldman was actually on Studs.
yeah.
That was a really that show would probably wouldn't go over very well today,
Oh
as
God.
because
Like
that was quite trashy
it was like
for a dating
what
show.
and like there was a lot of those shows like and they would not work today. Do you remember there's one called where they put them in chains? Chains of Love, I think it was called. It was horrible.
Oh, that's right. Was that an MTV show or was
I,
that
it was either MTV or like MTV adjacent, because it would come out and like everybody would be chained to this one girl or guy, like four girls, four guys, whatever. And then randomly the locksmith would come out, and he'd be like this massive dude, like this, right? And like when he came out with sunglasses on, is that then you had to choose like we're gonna take somebody off the chain. It was gonna be like those were like if you look back, they were horrible, like horrible shows. Like they were fun to watch, but they would not pass the. They
no?
would not pass.
This is really weird. I would, I Studs was a show I never really liked, but if I found a copy of that, someone put it on VHS, I'd buy it. So that
Just
and Grudge Match.
the deathmatch ones, like
Well,
the
there was a show called Grudge Match where, say, if you had a roommate and you had a problem, you go on this show. It was kind of like American Gladiators,
oh really?
and you kind of beat each other up, like so. And sometimes it'd be a guy against a girl, but they'd always tie the guy's arm behind his back so she can kick his butt. So he only had the one arm to, you know. It used to come on. Well, in our market, it'd come on around the same time as Glow.
I love Glow. Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
Yeah.
The one that would never make it now, and I've never seen it anywhere, not online, not like anywhere to get, and I can't even find. It was called what's it? Japanese Catfight.
Oh, that used to be on that Fight Network, right?
Yes, you
That
know.
was
So
really questionable. I've seen some of that. That was
yeah,
like I don't know what that was. Yeah.
yeah. Like I can't say on this one.
That'll probably have to go on your Patreon show. That one.
Yeah, and I was looking just to show my better half like that it exists. I was like, okay, you're not gonna believe this. This is a real thing, but I can't find it anywhere. Like I can't find mentions of it. I can't find like any clips of it. Like it's impossible.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they put that on that show, on that network.
It was like, and it wasn't like it was on kind of late, but was still like because I remember I watched it and it seemed like okay, it's going to be just a normal one, and then it gets halfway into like I can't say it, but it gets halfway in, and all of a sudden I'm like, did I just see what I just think I saw?
Well, maybe one of your viewers will probably gift you with a copy of it somehow. If they're
Yes, there you go. If anybody has the Japanese Catfight series,
'cause-
definitely, because I would love that. There's that one, and we back when like Play by TV was like a first thing, and I had satellite, and when you first get like satellite, they give you like everything, and then you put the stop what you want. So there was like what was it called? Unless maybe you will know this, maybe you won't. This 7 Lives Exposed. So think Big Brother, but
oh, it's the adult version of Big Brother. I remember when that was. So you were able to watch that. I remember Howard Stern was talking about that show.
Yeah, it was.
That's
like
with the adult actors, or
yeah, like what's her name? Devin something. She was an adult actress, and I think the other ones were I guess kind of up and coming. Like when I naively when I first like watched a couple episodes, I'm like, oh, it's like Big Brother, so it's like it's real. And as I kind of watched a few more, I'm like, there's no way this is real. Like it. Mrs. Eller tries too, and we're getting into some weird stuff here, Indy. Like 7 Lives Exposed, and that was like because I couldn't go for some. It was the early days of Big Brother, and one of my friends said you'd be perfect for Big Brother, like back when it was like American thing. And then another friend said you'd be perfect for 7 Lives Exposed. I'm like, what's that? And they sent in like a thing for me. I'm not joking. Like they went onto this website and they filled out a form and sent it in. Thank God that I didn't have like they didn't like because there was tapes, right? So people actually tried to go on the show, like legit. So what would happen is at the beginning of a season, same we see with like American Idol, they'd have people that would be talking, so like saying why they should be on the show, right? Uh, and they'd like give the reasons. So there'd be a bunch of people that, like, and it was just to kind of, I guess, give like ear legitimacy to it, is to have like these sequences of like real people, like saying, okay, I want to be on the show type thing. And I got like a call back and said, you want to send in a tape? And I'm like, no. like even though like I have little kids, I'm like no, like it's
Yeah,
like
that would really blow up your life, and that's the kind of
and not the best way. So I'm
no.
like even in like for like just like my family would have never let me live that down. So, but yeah, one of my friends was like a bit of a jerk. But it was different. But yeah, we had like all those there for like a month, like 2 months. It was everything, and then you had to choose your package because it was like the early days. So that's when like Course was around, and Course was putting out like Scream TV and Ido von Belkin. Like they had like 3 different hosts for like Scream TV. Remember Scream TV?
Yeah.
We're about freaking you out. Remember that when you're watching Scream TV.
I wish that had survived. It's a shame that that's gone now.
Well, they killed it with Dusk.
Yeah, that's when it became more thriller, right?
Yeah.
And they started showing more TV shows for some reason.
Yeah, like a lot of like British like programs and stuff, which are okay, but not for Scream TV. And there's Drive-In Classic, which had like this amazing, like there was like steamy windows, like the where they had the sex stuff, and they had the horror one. And then there was another one which was Sex TV, which showed a lot of Russ Meyer stuff. Because it wasn't as raunchy as it would sound. It was actually like a lot of Sue Johansson on there, a lot of Russ Meyer films, stuff like that. So that was like the early days, the front, like kind of the outlet days of when they actually put on stuff that was good. And like slowly saw these channels kind of just like waning out. And it started out like when Scream TV came on. The very first thing they showed was Invasion of Bystanders. And they showed it, and they showed another like program, and then they showed it kind of in a loop because they didn't have a lot of programming at the time. And they had their horror hosts. They had a bunch of them. They had like Ido von Belkin, which was a Canadian author. I've actually spoken to his son a few times.
Oh, that's cool.
And they had like there's a girl kind of like she was kind of punk, kind of cool. And then there was another one, and then there was a fourth girl, and she did like characters. So she was where more of them seemed more like legit, like kind of horror fans. She seemed more like an actress. So she played different characters. One was the dominatrix character, and one was the schoolgirl type character with a bad English accent. And she used to like her character, like it wasn't her fault, but like the way that she was done, I found kind of annoying. She was the only one that kept. They let every other host go except for her.
They must have known that was your least favorite.
Yeah, I said like is this in the front to me? But I love Scream.
Yeah, that was the only place too where we could actually watch those Master of Horrors episodes.
Yeah, and like I remember like getting up in the morning, like getting ready to go to work, and like Nightmare on Elm Street like would be on, and like I'd turn it on like Nightmare on Elm Street 3 or 4 would be on, and it'd be halfway in between it, and I'd be like watching it while I'm getting the kids ready to go to school and getting ready to go to work. So it was like such a good time.
Yeah.
I know a while back there was a whole like on Facebook there's like there's gonna be a brand new horror channel in Canada, and they kind of really promoted it and like talked about it a lot, and never came to be.
Yeah, see now everything is streaming now, so I'm not even sure if we can even get something like that now. Most people don't watch TV like they used to like we did back in the day.
It's different. I mean, like look at Shudder right now. Like when Shudder initially came out, like there were Shudder originals all the time. It was like you could every week you could breathe those Shudder originals out. Now it seems as if there's not as much anymore with the Shutter.
Yeah.
So when I found out about the shark exploitation documentary, I'm super stoked about that. And the documentaries I think are actually helping Shutter because I'm nervous because I know AMC lost a lot, and I really expected Shutter to get shut down.
Didn't Shutter have some layoffs earlier this year?
A lot actually.
Yeah, so yeah, that's unfortunate. I don't know. Hopefully, maybe I should actually subscribe to that. Get off my butt and link up my credit card to that.
I had Shutter for a while. I don't have it right now. I normally wait a bit till there's a few more like originals in, then I can load up and watch.
Yeah, that makes pretty sense too. Yeah. Otherwise, you're gonna, yeah.
Like I got the Arrow one now. I find the Arrow one pretty good because there's stuff that I own, but it's not here. So I can watch the Arrow, like watch an Arrow player, and they'll put like features on there too, like documentaries and that type of thing. But Shutter's a good one. The Perfect Host, if you haven't seen that one, I recommend that. That's a fun little like kind of like comedy horror. That it's just the lead actress really makes it. So you're watching it and like, yeah, like I don't know if the movie would be good as it is, but it's her performance and the way she commits to it that I'm like, yeah.
That's
I
cool.
think this is my weekend watch. Is this one right here?
I found that too at Dr. Disc, and I remember when that was on CBS back in the day, and I only watched a couple episodes of it. That's that slasher TV series, right? Harper's Island. Yeah. So I do have that, and I need to watch that.
It's
I
really
never did finish it.
You got to. Like it's really good. Going as blind as you can. Like
yeah. Well, I don't remember much about it. I think it was like a wedding on an island, and there's like a serial killer. I don't know.
Yeah. There's a it's probably one of my favorite killer reveals of all time.
All right, well, I'll be watching that soon.
Because I did not I'll be honest, I did not guess. I did not guess. It's basically I got suspicious and then I was unsuspicious. So when it finally happens, the way it happens, it was one of those. It's one of those moments.
Yeah, I will be sure to check that out because I've had it for a bit. I just never got around to watching it. I know it's like out of print too. I think that released now.
Yeah, I think so because they say the DVD edition, but as far as I know, there was no Blu-ray edition.
Yeah.
So this is the only edition, and it's not bad. Like I'd say, watch the webisodes after you watch the show because they used to have them come out like before episodes and stuff like that. But the webisodes work kind of like in a lump together because it's a different story. And I think the webisodes ruin it a bit. So I watch the episodes together and then watch the webisodes afterwards. They're fun, but they're not as necessary. But it's a nice little added medium after the show's over. Callum Keith Rennie is really good in it. So he plays the guy that's supposedly the killer from years ago, the John Wakefield character, the one that's mysteriously disappeared, the one that like basically that may or may not be actually the killer because there's a mystery to it. But he's super good. Like he's good in anything. Like he was good in Due South. Like he was good in Californication. I was really good in Californication. When his character died in that, I was like super pissed because he was like the rocker guy, the one that was kind of like the really kind of going down the road of super corruption. So I guess his character kind of had to die.
That's awesome. I haven't watched Californication. I do have the first season on DVD. I found it at a Goodwill. It was brand new, sealed. So I was like, I gotta take this because usually sometimes when I go shifting, box sets are the best value. But I'm trying to get away from buying TV box sets. Especially if a show ends and I hate the way it ended.
That's the thing. I mean, like one thing I will say, Californication does go good.
Okay.
So it's one of those shows too. Like you did I did journalism, and I related way too much to Hank Moody, like way too much. Even my friends who watch Californication were like, you know, some of these things, like, and this is not a good thing to say, because he's not exactly. He's a very flawed character, very flawed actually, especially. But like, it was because he's like this, really jaded. Like he's wrote a book, the book's become a movie. He hates the movie. He thinks it's a horrible, like abhorrible, like crap to what his book was. And he's and because of this, he's moved, like he's not with his wife anymore. His wife and his kids are living like they live with this other guy who's much more successful. And he's oversexed and he drinks too much, and it's just one of these characters that is it, and it's fun. It's not something. By the way, don't watch this in front of your kids. There's like a ton of nudity. Like this is not a kid friendly show. Like right from the beginning, like there's the first like scene, like there's I think it's like a sex scene. But it's like one of those where basically like he's a good character. He's overall he's a good guy, but he's not like he's good if you know him. He's your friend. He's a good guy, but he's not overtly like he's got a lot of flaws, but he gets better as the show goes through. I think like the second or third season was my favorite when he becomes a teacher because it was hilarious. But yeah, it's a funny show.
I'll definitely check it out then. I've had it for a bit. Like I'm notorious for that. I used to have a series of videos of movies I need to watch.
Yeah.
But I still never got around to. My battery's getting ready to die on my phone. I was hoping to do this on the laptop, but
no, that's okay. My battery's at like 40% anyways.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you so much for coming in. Hopefully, Brian, I can get you on here again sometime.
Yeah. Next time I'll make sure to do this when I'm not working. I'll take a day off or something.
Like on a weekend or something like that.
Yeah, because I didn't realize how much further the time difference was until I talked to you on Monday, and I was like, oh, because for you, like I was at work and it was like not even 8 o'clock yet, and it was like for you, it was like I think it was like almost 3 o'clock.
Yeah,
I was like, wow.
Yeah, like it's massively different here. Like, but don't worry, we'll schedule it so that you're off work, and we'll plan a theme or something like that.
Yeah, because I was gonna bring out some like movies and stuff, but I was so panicked, and I thought I was gonna miss it so bad that I was just like, no.
Don't worry, that's the thing for next time, man. We can show off some of your cool releases. We'll do it next time. We'll do it. We'll plan it ahead of time so you can actually pick out some cool stuff to show, and we'll
That's cool.
Okay, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Do you want to anything you want to pimp out or want to shout out?
Well, just my channel, Nready, all lowercase. That's pretty much it. I don't do anything on any social media, but so I probably should. Like I do have Instagram and TikTok, but I don't really use those for some reason.
I'm trying to make TikTok a thing, but it's hard.
TikTok is kind of yeah.
But thank you so much. I want to again thank Tony, who's I think who's watching now. You guys, it's been an incredible night. The 3.5 hours actually flew by. I got to be honest. I was nervous coming in. I'm always nervous for videos. I really am. But you guys made it so seamless and so easy. Thank you all. And I guess this is where we do the whole opening thing.
Come on, puppy.